Welcome to the Fall Town Meeting. I have a few small moments of public note and announcement as we commence. This is the first time that we have gathered as a deliberative body as part of the community since we suffered as a community a very tragic loss of one of the children in the community this fall. A great loss for the town and the community and for a family which has meant so much to our community. I would ask if you could all, in memory of Patrick Gill, join me in a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Also, on another note, my friend and fellow town meeting member from Precinct 5, Sarah Swiger, has been under the weather, hospitalized, and now in a recovery unit. If you could keep Sarah and Bill in your thoughts and prayers, I know they would appreciate that. She's meant so much to the town as well. As we enter into the political season of nonpartisanship, thankfully, with the elections behind us, I wanted to congratulate those members of the town who took the time to stand up and enter the arena, notably a member of our Finance Committee, Mike Betancourt, who made a great race in the primary for the state representative seat. And our neighbor, John Miller, who ran for the office of Attorney General. I believe he is here this evening. I'd like to recognize our newly elected state representative, Michael Day. Michael. He's up in the balcony. Did the town clerk put you up there, Mike? We have a number of matters on before us this evening. There's been much speculation and some side betting about whether the meeting will adjourn this evening or not. I would note that we have 17 deliberative articles, some reports from the various town boards and committees, and we have the need to adjourn after those reports to elect and fill certain vacancies in the town meeting. So that being the case, I think it will be difficult for us to conclude this evening. But if we're able to do so and adjourn at a reasonable time without giving short shrift to the important business before us, we will try and do so. That being said, at this time I'd like to bring the preliminary motions before the town meeting. Those are, it is moved and seconded that the following motions be voted as one, that Richard Howard, Town Manager, Stacey Ward, Comptroller, Wade Welch, Town Councilor, Mark Toogood, Assistant Town Manager, who are not town meeting members, be permitted to sit at the front of the auditorium with the Board of Selectmen during all sessions of this town meeting, that all members of the Finance Committee and their secretary, whether town meeting members or not, be permitted to sit together at the front of the auditorium during all sessions of this meeting, that the town clerk or her designee or the assistant town clerk be permitted to occupy a desk on the platform during all sessions of this town meeting, that the moderator be authorized to permit members of various town boards, commissions, committees, department heads, and petitioners of special articles to sit at the front of the auditorium during consideration of the appropriate articles, that unless it be otherwise ordered, all adjourned sessions of this town meeting shall be held on successive Monday and Thursday evenings at 7:30 p.m. in the McCall Middle School auditorium until the work of this town meeting is completed. That action on all motions involving appropriation shall be contingent upon compliance with the provisions of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 21C, a law known as the 2.5 tax limitation. The cable television coverage shall be permitted at all sessions of this town meeting. Those motions being made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motions pass. At this time, we'll move on to the first article of the town meeting, which is to hear reports from various town officers and committees. And we will recognize Jennifer Wilson, the chairperson of the Board of Selectmen. Ms. Wilson.
Good evening. Is that okay? Fellow town meeting members, I'll start tonight with what is typically a closing comment. I'd like to express the gratitude of the board and from the members of our community for the quality and dedication of Winchester's employees. We thank them for making our town run so well during times like the high-profile few months that have been immediately behind us, and day to day when we have less media coverage, which we prefer. We also thank the many volunteers like you who are so generous with their energy, ideas, and time in the service of the town. Tonight, I'm pleased to be able to present significant progress on a number of board initiatives that we shared with you at the Springtown meeting. I ask that you please take the time to review our more detailed written report. In particular, it talks extensively about our financial outlook, which I won't touch upon so much this evening, other than to say we've kicked off our traditional financial summits between the leadership of the Finance Committee, Capital Planning Committee, School Committee, and Board, and we'll report more to you on that in the spring. After a long and extensive process of public feedback, the town has issued an RFP, which is a request for bids for the 12.5 acres adjacent to the land that the town leases to the Right Lock Farm Conservancy. The RFP seeks to achieve several goals: to recoup a substantial portion of the remaining $12 million purchase price, to support the Right Lock Farm Conservancy as a valued asset in our community, which it is by all of us, to balance development and preservation, and to minimize adverse impacts. I won't repeat here the history of the land, but I would encourage you to read the RFP if you haven't already done so. It is surely one of a kind. You will see in it the many ways in which the board has tried to balance the various interests of the town while ensuring a fair and open process. As you know, the RFP does not itself create a plan for the land. It provides the framework of preferences and requirements within which a developer may propose a plan. After bids are received, which are due on January 6th, the board and town management will lead an evaluation process of all of the proposals, seeking recommendations from appropriate boards and committees. If there is a proposal that the board believes is right for the town, we will recommend it to town meeting. Town meeting will have information about all of the bids, not just what we recommend. The decision to convey the land will then rest with you. The town has made significant strides in its multi-project flood mitigation program. When complete, flood impact will be reduced, and so will the cost of flood insurance for hundreds of residents. The major accomplishment since the last town meeting was securing the release of $2.5 million in state funds under an environmental bond bill, and thank you sincerely to Senators Lewis and Jalen. These funds allow us to move forward with two important projects: a new culvert under the Mount Vernon Street Bridge, which is shown behind me, and upgrades at Scally Dam and Woburn, which you will hear more about later in this meeting. Shasha, or Skillings Field, is the site of several important projects in town: a high school project, a flood project, and an environmental project. As part of the high school reconstruction, parking will be installed, the track removed, and the baseball field restored. This is also location for a key flood project, installing a fourth culvert under the field. This is one of the more expensive projects, currently estimated at approximately $8 million. Finally, as I hope you're aware, testing at this field has shown the presence of heavy metal contaminants that will require some remediation. I want to emphasize that our consultants and the Massachusetts DEP have assured us that there is no imminent hazard to users of the field. Rather, the state requires us to remediate sometime during the next 4 years to ensure no future danger over a period of many years. Since last town meeting, we have received additional test results that help determine the appropriate solution as well as its expense. The solution will most likely consist of installation of a cap, which will be a warning barrier and a deep layer of soil over much of the western and southern portions of the field, and the cost could range from $4 to $6 million. The board has told you before that we believe the town may benefit from implementation of these three projects simultaneously, most likely near the end of the high school construction. This would help minimize field disruption and could save as much as $750,000. To do so, we would need to secure funding soon, and the board could be bringing a debt exclusion override request to the town as soon as this spring. The Planning Board Chair will tell you tonight about his important efforts to keep the town center vital for the coming decades. We will continue to support the board in its rezoning proposals while we pursue related efforts. For instance, we are in the finalization of implementation of a parking plan for the town center. We continue to be engaged in the design process for the state's renovation of our town center's train station. This presents the opportunity to ensure that points of access to the station best support safety and future development, as well as making the station accessible and maybe even more attractive.
Excuse me, Ms. Wilson, your time has expired. Would you care for more time?
Mr. Moderator, may I please have 3 additional minutes?
Moved and seconded that the speaker's time be extended for 3 minutes. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. A successful outcome for the center will pay dividends in many ways: promote housing for seniors and younger residents, support our local businesses, boost tax revenue, and even reduce flood risk. I'd like to put in a plug for the town's new website. Hopefully you have visited it. It was launched this past summer. A few key features. It includes our first ever town-sponsored community calendar, where local organizations can promote their community events. You can reserve meeting rooms online. You can sign up for email alerts on things like volunteer opportunities and news flashes. You can tell the DPW about potholes. It translates into 80 languages. And finally, you can access our board's minutes, agendas, and all of the materials related to the Board of Selectmen's consideration of matters at its public meetings. The board's job at town meeting is to advise you of our primary initiatives, partly because they're core policy matters that affect the town's future, but also because they will require you at some point to vote. As we talk about these major efforts seemingly again and again, it seems important to take a moment to reassure you that they are far from all of the town's needs that we work hard on week to week as a board. To mention just a few, over the past 6 months, we have begun consideration of installing lights at Manchester Field. We've approved numerous collective bargaining agreements. We've authorized borrowing for the high school and other capital projects. We've approved no right on red signage at Cambridge and Bacon Street, temporary resident-only parking in the high school neighborhood. We've held public hearings and information sessions on traffic and parking matters, liquor licenses, gas main relining, and many other business and neighborhood matters. We've supported green energy efficiency projects and monitored the SMART pilot program at the transfer station. We have authorized the appearance of a llama at the farmers market. We want you, as the legislative body of the town, to be informed and to be assured that we, as the executive body of the town, do our best in all matters, large and small, to strive for good management that we can all be proud of. We invite you to ask us or the town manager about any of these matters, or you can read about them on our new website. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. The Winchester School Committee, represented by its chairperson, Chris Nixon.
Mr. Moderator, town meeting members and friends, it's been a very busy 6 months for the Winchester Public Schools and the school committee since we last met for spring town meeting. The class of 2014 had 269 graduates in June. We not only said farewell to these students, but to Dr. Tom Gwynn as well, who retired after 11 years as high school principal. This September, we welcomed the class of 2027, with 318 students enrolled in kindergarten. Study those numbers carefully. You know where this is going. These students, plus movement throughout the district, pushed our October 1st K-12 enrollment figures from 4,357 last year to 4,422 today, an increase of 65 students, or 1.5%. With growth and change in our student population comes growth and change among teachers and staff as well. This summer, the district saw over 70 changes in professional staff positions, including 48 new hires. On the subject of staffing change, we're pleased to share that this summer, Ms. Pam Gerard began her role as Administrator of Special Education, and just earlier this month, Mr. Joe DeMarco joined us as Network Administrator. Both positions, redefined by the superintendent and approved by the school committee, round out the reorganization of central office begun well over a year ago. This reorganization has created a more responsive administrative team, better suited to meet the needs of our growing and continuously changing district. The EFPBC has been keeping a close watch over to the construction, evolving design packages, and budget for the Winchester High School reconstruction project. With the assistance of Director of Finance John Denizio and our new high school principal, Sean Kiley, Superintendent McAuliffe has kept us, the Board of Selectmen, Town Manager, and other officials up to date on the status of the project. The progress on Skillings Road is exciting to see, and we eagerly await next Wednesday's meeting when the project's GMP, or Guaranteed Maximum Price, will be established with the construction manager. Lastly, this summer the district completed a key component of year one in our 3-year technology plan, adding wireless access points and network capability, providing true wireless capacity building-wide to all our teachers and students. This project is limited in visibility, but is essential in laying the foundation for our 3-year investment, which will one day permit one-to-one initiatives or a bring-your-own-device learning environment. Our 3-year technology plan would not be possible without the support of the Winchester Foundation for Educational Excellence, or WIFE, whose Powered Up capital campaign pledges to raise $850,000. These funds, coupled with the district's own $500,000 investment, will bring our school's infrastructure, equipment, and professional development on par with our peer districts and better prepare our students for success in an ever-changing but increasingly technology-driven economy. It's been a busy 6 months for the school committee as well. The school committee has reestablished its policy subcommittee, which has already begun a top-to-bottom review of existing district policies as well as new state and federal mandates. We expect to see draft recommendations on policy changes from the subcommittee in January and plan on voting changes in May. As town meeting is aware, this is Bill McAuliffe's last year with us as superintendent of schools. The school committee is pleased to report that we are on schedule in our search for a new permanent superintendent. After developing a schedule and selecting an executive search consultant in the spring, the school committee sought community input on our district strengths and weaknesses and characteristics to value in the next leader of Winchester schools. I'm pleased to share with you that over 600 people participated in our focus groups conducted in June and the online survey that was available through the summer into mid-September. Participation in the survey represented a broad spectrum of Winchester, including many of you here tonight. And the feedback was both insightful and helpful to the school committee as we developed our leadership profile for the position earlier in September. The deadline for application for the position was just this past Monday, and I am pleased to share with you tonight that the response by candidates was very, very strong. The Search Advisory Committee has begun vetting these candidates and will bring forward 3 to 4 recommended finalists for superintendent later next month. To learn more about our search, including our candidate criteria, and to stay abreast of opportunities for the public to visit with the finalists when they come here in January, please visit the search website at winchestersupersearch.com. May I have another 2 minutes, Mr. Moderator?
It's moved and seconded that the speaker's time be extended for 2 minutes. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Continue, Mr. Nixon.
Tonight, I end our report with something we've historically opened with, our strength as a district. All too often, our thoughts about strength are focused solely on academic achievement, such as our blue ribbon schools or MCAS results. Happily, we continue to be a high-achieving district that's always looking for opportunities for improvement. While it's right to acknowledge and celebrate our academic success, our mission is not so narrowly focused. We are just as dedicated to our students' social and emotional growth as we are their academic learning. We are nurturing not just good scholars, but good citizens with strong character. And it is character which this fall showed itself so strongly as a strength that defies measurement. On September 20th, we suddenly and tragically lost Winchester High School senior Patrick Gill. And once again, our school community and Winchester at large showed its true colors. Through words and deeds, our students, many of them still years away from high school, showed tremendous strength, support, and love towards the Gill family, extended family, and their own school communities. The school committee wishes to thank our teachers, staff, and administrators who so thoughtfully supported our students and even each other in the wake of Patrick's death. How we rally in times of crisis or challenge says much about who we are as a district and a town. Innumerable times this fall we heard, "I've never been prouder to be a teacher in Winchester. I've never been prouder to live here," or "I've never been prouder to be a Sachem." Indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Nixon. The Finance Committee, represented by its chairman, Mr. Melkonian.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, fellow town meeting members. Trailing on the successful vote of the town's override for the high school project, the town is now in the process of making a decision on the Wright Rock Farm, which I will discuss shortly. First, I will begin by showing some budget highlights from 2014. As we see from the Comptroller's report, total revenue to the town grew from fiscal year 13 to 14 by 3.57%, and revenues from total property tax, including personal and real estate tax, grew by 3.47%. Revenues from building permit fees increased by 14.13%, and this shows an interesting upward movement in this area, as it is an increase that we haven't seen looking back at least for the last 3 years. Likewise, we saw an increase in the revenues collected from motor vehicle excise taxes and local receipts. State aid saw an increase of 2.82%. We have seen increases in costs as well. Health insurance costs did go down for the second year in a row, while costs for special education increased for the 4th straight year, and energy costs increased for the 2nd straight year. This slide shows Winchester's single-family real estate tax bill against those of comparable communities. These are communities that we've used traditionally in previous years. The average single-family tax bill for Winchester increased from $9,839 for the fiscal year 13 to $10,195 for fiscal year 14. This average keeps us as the 14th highest-ranking real estate tax bill in the Commonwealth. The town has ranged from 11th highest to 15th highest over the past decade. For comparison, the state average real estate tax bill for a single-family home was $5,020 in fiscal year 2014. This slide shows home valuations for the town of Winchester from the Department of Revenue website. It went from a little over $770,000 in 13 to $805,000 in 14, which is a 4.5% increase. During that same period, the average single-family home in the Commonwealth increased in value by 2.66%. To look at some future considerations that will affect our real estate tax bills, the high school override will affect the tax bill starting in fiscal year 2017. The average increase in a single-family home will be approximately $530 for fiscal year 17 and $823 for fiscal year 18. For any known capital improvement project that exceeds the capacity of the Capital Stabilization Fund, which will be extremely limited for the foreseeable future, we will have to come up with funding sources. We know that the remaining flood mitigation projects are going to be of a size and scope that will not be able to be funded from the capital fund anytime soon. Some other considerations that could impact our budget looking forward are those line items that we don't have a great deal of control over, such as special education costs and fluctuating energy costs. Unknown emergency capital projects that arise out of the scope of the projects that the Capital Planning Committee has on their review for the next 3 to 5 years. And also we take note that at this town meeting we'll be voting on Article 6, which is for the master plan for the schools. We need to keep in mind that this plan will give us a clearer picture of the state of the physical plant of our schools and the immediacy for any repairs or remodeling. Every project comes with a cost. For any town project, be it flood mitigation or municipal building repair, the choices are that we can find the money within the budget, which is unlikely for a large project, even with the most drastic of budget cuts. We could fund it out of free cash. We could pass overrides to pay for the projects, or we could decide not to move forward with the projects or delay action on them. These will be hard choices, as projects will require immediate attention to prevent future damage to buildings and facilities. While we look at major expenses for the town, retiree benefits, including pension and OPEB liabilities, need to be kept at the forefront, as these are real liabilities that we have a responsibility to manage and pay for. Turning quickly to the obligations owed on the Right Lock Farm, July 2017 will be the start of the permanent bonding for the approximately $12 million owed. As you know, we've been paying only notes since the purchase of the farm. As we receive bids on the RFP, we will need to analyze the financial impacts that any new development will bring in or cost to the town. The Finance Committee looks forward to working with the town management to help better identify the revenues and costs associated with any proposed development on the site, which will include many factors be taken into consideration, including increased school enrollment, increased use of town services, and also increase in revenues from the new construction. While we don't fully know many of the costs associated with developing the site at various levels, we do know the cost of bonding our obligations owed. If we were to bond the full $12 million, the beginning annual burden to the town would be approximately $1.13 million, or about $85 per household, or $1,680 per household over 20 years.
Mr. Melconian, your time has expired. Would you like more time?
3 more minutes, please.
It's moved and seconded that the speaker's time be extended for 3 minutes. All those in favor? Any opposed? The motion passes. Please continue.
Thank you. Moving down to $5 million bonded, we would be looking at a total annual burden of around $469,000 in equal principal payments. That comes out to about $37 per household per year, or $700 over 20 years. This assumes a 20-year bond at 4.5%. We need to look for continued savings where we can find them. We saw a major cost-saving measure on retirement costs this year by the actions taken by the Board of Selectmen, reducing our ultimate OPEB burden while also establishing a mitigation plan for those hardest affected by the plan changes. We've seen an LED streetlight project throughout the town, which is expected to yield savings not only in energy costs, but also in maintenance costs. The relationship that we have with private groups are also very important. The work done with the Fields Committee provided the town with a state-of-the-art turf field, which could not have been funded through the capital budget. And the Winchester Foundation for Educational Excellence recently attended one of the Finance Committee meetings to provide insight into how their private organization works hand in hand with the Winchester Public Schools to assist with funding technology in our schools through private donations. In closing, as we move forward, we need to not only be vigilant and proactive in identifying major projects in the town to keep our infrastructure safe and well-maintained, but also ways in which we can find potential savings. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear from the Planning Board. Betsy Craig, the chair.
Betsy, you know what it's called?
There it is, right there. Boom. If you could maximize that for me, please. Thank you.
You have 3 minutes left.
Oh, come on.
Gotta go forward, gotta go back.
Okay, thank you. Well, welcome, and sorry for the travail there. We are indeed, as indicated, looking forward to a revitalized downtown. There we go. You may be wondering, what have we been doing anyway? Well, first of all, you need to know that we've been working very, very hard on the downtown centers of rezoning. We are really going for a real change in zoning. In the past, we've always done zoning on the basis of a very reactive kind of policy. Something happens, you rezone to take care of it. What we are trying to do in the downtown is to develop a plan that will provide a basis for zoning for the town, that will create development in a modern kind of operational way through changes in uses, like, for example, allowing for mixed-use development and housing as of right, but also retaining the important parts of our essential sort of architectural core that we have. We want to encourage those residential uses near transit and commercial activity without destroying our desired downtown aesthetic. That's kind of a fancy way of saying we want to be able to get more business and more housing in the downtown without destroying Winchester's charm, which in fact makes the downtown so great to be in, to meet people, to dine, and to shop. We are anticipating that a draft of the zoning, we've been working very hard on this, will be vetted within the planning board for finally, and then released within the month. And then starts the real fun. We are anticipating having several community conversations about this very, very important topic. We hope to have one in December, mid-January, mid-February, then moving into early March. By that time, we hope that everybody will have been at one or more sessions, will have had any comments back to us. We're very much wanting you to be participants in this process. And last but not least, we'll have a final legal review, not to mention the fact that we will be having some ongoing as we move along. But as I said, we want to hear from you. Town meeting members, property owners, business owners, members of town boards and committees, from the Disability Access Committee, Housing Partnership Board, the Historical Commission, Design Review, CONSCOM, and others. Of course, the Board of Selectmen, who we've been working very closely with, Chamber of Commerce, Rotary, other organizations and committees, private citizens, and developers. If you have a group that would like us to come out and have a chat with us, that's fine. We'll try and arrange that, by all means. How will we be getting that feedback? At our meetings, of course, as well as online, by phone, by email, or even by snail mail. It's all fine with us. Any suggestions received, and they could be with respect to language, or they could be with respect to content, will be considered by the planning board, and amendments may be made to the draft. You may wonder why won't they all be accepted? Because what has taken us so long to get here? If you think that trying to put the zoning together here with so many different factors coming in, it's sort of like putting together a 500-piece jigsaw puzzle. You need to make sure you've got the right pieces and that they all fit in the right place. It's been a great challenge, but we're very, very excited to be able to get to the point now where we can really take it out to the public. When those amendments are completed, the draft will become the final CBD zoning article, along with some additional articles that will be in there. We know that there will be some changes that will have to take place within the more general zoning bylaw as well, to accommodate some of the changes that we're doing within the CBD zoning. So we will be conforming that zoning. And we will also be allowing for a general bylaw to allow for a design district. And there will no doubt be more. But that's where we are right now. And all I can say is please, please, please come and join us in this journey. We really want to have your feedback and your comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you much, Mr. Krager. Slow start, but finished within your allotted time. Commendations to you. Very impressive. I'm informed that there's no report from the Board of Library Trustees this evening. That brings us to the report of the Town Manager, Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, town meeting members. I apologize in advance for any of the repetitive points. It's a real burden to go last here all the time and cover all the same territory that many of the other speakers already touched upon. So we'll get through, if I can figure out how to operate Matt's mouse here. Here we go. this presentation as quickly as possible. A couple of highlights since the last time we met in the spring of this year. The close of 2014 went extremely well. The financial team and all department heads pulled together and put together a turnback and a surplus amount of about $2.2 million for the close of business of fiscal year 2014. A very good end to the fiscal year and sets us up in very good position, especially on reserves and going forward. And we're going to touch on that in 1 second. And also after town meeting, we issued the bond authorization that we talked about at town meeting for that first phase of Winchester High School. Some permanent borrowing, some temporary borrowing, but all in all, we received from the rating houses the rating that Winchester has become accustomed to receiving and familiar with, a AAA rating for the permanent bonds and an MIG 1 rating for temporary authorizations, which gives us the lowest possible interest rate available on the market. So I thank the financial team and our advisors for helping us put that together. The start of fiscal year 2015 has gone extremely well and smoothly. No major unanticipated expenses at this point. We have some minor adjustments that are contained in Article 19, which we hope you would support this evening, that straighten out a few departmental imbalances. Negotiations have continued apace, as we reported in the spring. We finalized the next to last group. We have one group that's outstanding that may or may not be able to come to a successful negotiated agreement, but may in fact invoke arbitration, and we might have to report back to you on that. But otherwise, all major labor groups are under agreement through fiscal year 2016, which again provides us a pretty good template for building a budget for next year. Capital expenditures, the Capital Planning Committee have proposed to you this evening a series of projects and expenditures that are well within available resources. And we have several minor but important ones that we would hope you would support as well that are contained under Articles 6 and 21. Reserves are the important piece of information that no one else has touched upon this evening, so to the extent you can see this chart up behind me, I call your attention to it. In essence, we try to provide this kind of analysis and forecast for you, mainly in the spring, but each town meeting occasion. What the chart shows you, the line up in the top is the slow-growing arc of the total cost of expenditures and revenues to the town over the next several fiscal years. We have 15 on the left, and it's topping out at proposed fiscal year 2019 on the far right. Down at the bottom, the bar that's there is the amount of money that we have available in reserves as of the close of business June 30th this year. It's roughly $8.2 million, and it amounts to roughly, again, about 8.4% of our annual expenditures represented in 2015. And as you can see, it's projected to remain relatively constant over the next series of fiscal years. Off a projection that the manager would expect to use in each fiscal year the amount of free cash in order to build the budget, and that in essence is the equivalent of the amount that we subsidize capital expenditures by on an annual basis. So our hope is that if we can live within this curve and in the bar at the bottom, that we continue to live within the board's policy of having anywhere between 6 to 10% of projected revenues in any given fiscal year to hold in the event of an unanticipated event. So short story is we believe we're in very good shape there. To take you back one, can I go back, Matt? Or? Left button. There we go. I'm all the way back to the beginning. Matt will put this up for me. It's no more than what you've already seen. It's just a touching of the initiatives that you've already heard about, mainly from other speakers. Thank you, Matt. Yep. The Right Lock Farm Initiative, it's good that we have the RFP finally out there. We'll be entertaining proposals right after the first of the year. And as Jennifer has explained to you, our goal is to be able to bring this back no later than spring town meeting, but hopefully the board will have a recommendation for town meeting even earlier than that and potentially call a special town meeting. The high school project has gotten off to a great start since the time you authorized the expenditure. It's on budget. We're getting those closing numbers in for the guaranteed maximum price any day now. and it's on schedule as well. That first phase is going extremely well and smoothly. Flood mitigation projects are teed up, as Jennifer also has mentioned, in which you will also see some mention of in Articles 9 and 11. The Skillings Field project is an important one that we'll be bringing back to you next year and potentially to the entire town for consideration. The parking program, which you'll hear a little bit more about tonight, later on in one of the articles, is off to a good start. The street light program that everybody has touched upon is again a great success by Susan McPhee and the Energy Committee. Put together a program where you all should be enjoying new street lights in all of your neighborhoods and all the main streets of the town for almost no cost, and at a satisfactory repeating investment of saving the town potentially about $40,000 each year in energy costs. You have the lights at Knowlton Field under consideration by the board, the superintendent selection process underway, the town center initiative, which you've heard about from Betsy Krager. All of that, my closing remarks, which would bring me to, would tell you that for fiscal year 16 and 17 and beyond, we hope to be able to live within our means and not have to ask the town for any additional resources beyond which we end up taxing for under the restrictions of Proposition 2.5. A lot of that will depend upon our ability to, after FY16, negotiate future labor costs and contracts. Also, and a big part, it depends upon where our healthcare benefit costs go in the ensuing years, but we hope to be able to contain those and also keep a lid on departmental costs and capital initiatives, all within available resources. That's our goal each year as we come to you in the spring. So it would be my expectation that we'll meet those for sure for fiscal year 2016 and the spring of 15 and then beyond. So that's my report. Thank you very much for the time, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Conti, does the Committee on Government Regulations have a report? Thank you, Mr. Conti. And I'm informed that the Committee on Rules has accepted every excuse tendered for those who have been absent a unnecessary amount of time, so it will have no report this evening, thanks to the good work of Ms. Russo and her committee. This brings us to the point of adjournment at which the precincts in 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and 8 have a need to appoint new members to the town meeting. The precincts will meet in the library, which is out the doors to the right. We will be in adjournment for 15 minutes. So we will be back here in 15 minutes, and we will reconvene at that time. Thank you.
I'm Alan Iden reporting here from our first session of the Fall Town Meeting here in the McCall Auditorium. As you know, the high school auditorium is under construction. So this is our first session of Fall Town Meeting here on the 6th of November. Town meeting is in recess at the moment. Let's recap what we've done so far. Covered so far is basically Article 1, which is the reports of the town committees. Our first report was from Jennifer Wilson, the chairman of the Board of Selectmen. In her report, she said, began her report by saying thanks to the town employees and the volunteers. She touched on the Right Lock Farm initiative, said the RFP, request for proposals for the development of 12.5 acres for the town to recoup a $12 million investment, but also the objective of preserving the farm, minimizing the impact on the town. And that RFP is due back to the town on January 6th. In the issue of flood mitigation, is proceeding well, and this will reduce the cost of flooding for the residents in certain areas. And she said also that the town is receiving $2.5 million in funds from the state for flood mitigation. On the issue of Skillings Field, which will have to be rebuilt, there's parking issues, there's field improvements, and a culvert costing about $8 million is proposed to be built under the field for the Aberjona River. The town center planning is proceeding. We will hear a report from that from the planning board talking about rezoning and the rebuilding of the rail station or improvements to the rail station. The town's new website she spoke about, and also commented on many other meetings and projects that are underway by the board. Our next report was from Chris Nixon from the school, chairman of the school committee. He said the school committee has had a very busy 6 months. 269 graduates from the class of 2014 and 318 members of the class of 2027 entered the kindergarten. The enrollment of the school system is 4,422 students, which is a 1.5% increase from last year, and there were 72 staff changes. The Winchester High School project is well underway, as is a 3-year technology plan, putting Wi-Fi in all the school buildings. That's a 3-year plan going from 2013 to 2016. Superintendent search is underway. The semifinalists are due to be introduced to the town in next month, in December. And she commented on the strengths of the school system in not only in academics, but in arts and athletics. Mr. Malconian from the Finance Committee was next. Talked about a 3.57 revenue growth so far in this fiscal year. Average tax bill in the town is $10,095, and home values have increased about 4.5% in the past year. He spoke about the effect of the Winchester High School rebuild on the average tax bill. It will start to hit those tax bills in fiscal year 17. Average bill will increase by $530 and $823 in fiscal year 18. There are some unknowns in the upcoming years, including benefits, employee benefits, and capital projects. Comment on the Right Lock Farm that beginning in July of 2017, bond repayments of the principal's $12 million loan will begin on a 20-year bond. And he also commented on the town prizing the relationships with private funding private funding sources, sorry about that. We heard next from Betsy Kreger from the Planning Board, who's looking forward, in her words, looking forward to a revitalized downtown. The Planning Board is trying to be very proactive in rezoning the downtown area for mixed use, but also maintaining the downtown aesthetic. The draft release of the Planning Board's report on downtown is due in about 7 to 10 days, and they will commence about 3 months of community meetings and conversations, looking for public input on this new plan, and hopefully having it ready for spring town meeting. The last report before the recess here was from Richard Howard, the town manager. He said the last fiscal year closed with about a $2.2 million surplus. The town has a AAA bond rating, which gives it the lowest possible interest rate on any bonds. Fiscal year 15 has off to a good start with no surprises yet, in his words. Negotiations on labor contracts are almost all done, and capital projects are coming to town meeting. They'll be coming to this session of town meeting. The free cash reserves were $8.2 million, which is about 8.4% of the budget, and they're projected to be constant for the next 4 or 5 fiscal years. So there we have it. The town meeting is in recess right now. We'll begin taking up the articles after this 15-minute recess, and we will be back with our live coverage of this first session of Winchester's Fall Town Meeting. Stay tuned.
The meeting will please come to order. This now brings us to Article 2. Before we commence with the substantive articles this evening, our gathering in the library in our precincts brought to mind a particular loss which the meeting suffered this summer. It turns out that over the summer, our fellow town meeting, Julie O'Connor, passed away. And both her fellow precinct members and all of us in the town meeting were quite saddened to be reminded of that. Julie was a particularly loyal and avid town meeting member, an articulate spokesperson for the things that she believed in, and stayed with us right through a rather serious illness. And our thoughts and prayers this evening go out to her family. A reminder as we recommence the meeting that those wishing to speak can do so by calling attention to the chair. A hand microphone should be available, but also for those who would prefer, there are microphones at the end of each aisle. You can simply come down and stand in line at the microphone and wait to be recognized by the chair. The Article 2 is an article brought by the Committee on Rules. There being no town meeting members to remove from the town meeting under Article 2, it is moved and seconded that Article 2 be indefinitely postponed. All those in favor? Any opposed? The article is indefinitely postponed. This brings us to Article 3, a warrant article brought by the Commission on Disabilities Issues. Under Article 3, it is moved and seconded that the town rename the Winchester Commission on Disabilities Issues as established by vote at the town meeting on April 22nd, 1996 as the Winchester Disability Access Commission. Michael O'Brien, the proponent of that motion. Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator and fellow town meeting members. I'm Michael O'Brien. I chair the Winchester Commission on Disability Issues. What we're asking for tonight here is that we have town meeting support to name it as the Winchester Commission on Disability Access. And the reason for the name change is back in 1996, by vote of town meeting, vote went forward to do it as Disability Issues. And we'd like to bring it forward to be known ask for town meeting support for the commission name change to be Disability Access Commission. And we'd like to thank the town meeting and board members for their support. Thank you.
It's moved and seconded that the committee be renamed as stated in the motion. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. That brings us to warrant Article 4. To hear and act on the report of the Capital Planning Committee is moved and seconded that the Capital Planning Committee report for fiscal year 2016 be received and placed on file. The proponent of that and the presenter of the Capital Planning Committee report is the chairperson of the Capital Planning Committee, Helen Filio. Ms. Filio.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator, Board of Selectmen, Finance Committee, town meeting members, and viewing audience. Each fall, the Capital Planning Committee presents to you its recommendations for capital projects. The list is extremely brief this year because the funding is so scarce. However, we've scraped and discussed and gotten a few things that I think we can offer you. We hope you've had the opportunity to review the capital planning report, which outlines our process, how we make these decisions, and also the number of projects that have been requested that are unfulfilled. This slide is particularly good because it shows you the debt service against the available funding and the requests. It's very, very effective. We have been saying for quite some time that there's not enough funding for capital, but there are other things that are obviously taking priority. So we have some recommendations for you regarding what we can suggest. It's how to supplement our funds. This year, the majority of the recommended projects are water, sewer, and environmental projects. The MWRA has a very great program that is called the Grant Loan Program, and they will give 75% grant and 25% loan, and the loan is zero interest for 10 years. So a lot of these projects under Water and Sewer Enterprise are funded by that mechanism, so it really helps our town budget. The ones that are going to be included in that are the water lining and lead net removal, the Stoll and Marshall Road Sewer Project, and the I&I investigation report. The remaining two projects are the Wildwood Street Drainage Project, which has come to us fairly recently, but quite a priority because the neighbors in that neighborhood have had a lot of problems with water damage and great expense of lost things. We were able to use unexpended bond proceeds for that project, and the replacement of the low-level outlet at the South Reservoir is going to be under a borrowing authorization. Under Article 9, the Cemetery Advisory Commission has come to us and requested money to build the columbarium niche wall. It's the first stage of having the niches for the cremains. The funding for this will actually include 2 years from each year they have $55,000 from the Trust Fund Commission. However, this year, with the permission of the Commissioners of Trust Funds, they're taking 2 years and then combining that with some account closeouts to make the amount of money they need to start this columbarium going. We also this is the fall town meeting recommendations, which are not very much. We have a school master plan update request that we ask you to approve. It's $45,000, and through the graciousness of the town manager and the Board of Selectmen, the funding from that one is free cash. It's the only thing we're asking for free cash. Public Safety Building Phase 3 is using unexpended funds, bond funds. That is to continue to repair the outside of it, which the mortar is leaking and there's water getting in the building. That's kind of a priority to fix that building. And the last thing is the Mount Vernon Street Bridge, which is the town's share is $500,000, and the $2.5 million is what came in from the state for the making the culvert larger. At the springtime meeting, we all, is that the next one? Oh, we're missing, this doesn't coordinate, I apologize. As you see, the Wildwood Street drainage is unexpended bond proceeds. South Dam Gate is borrowing. The others are all MWRA funding mechanisms. There was $1 million available this year from the Capital Stabilization Fund, of which $500,000 of that went for the Mount Vernon Street Bridge. There was nothing available from the Building Stabilization Fund, but we do get each year approximately $220,000 from the general revenue, of which we had available for us $160,000, which we've used for these projects. In the spring, we will request money for the ADA transition plan. That's year 4 or 5 of a 10-year plan. We will also be requesting money for the design specs to repair the McCall gym ceiling. And there is a request to buy a tractor for the DPW. That's spring. And I leave you with this graph again. It is extremely effective in telling you where we are and what we need and where it's not possible. In our report, we do have a listing of all the requested projects, and you can see how few we were able to fund going forward. So it's definitely an issue. We also know there are several major projects coming down the road which are going to be probably not capitally funded. The Skillingsfield culvert is one, and of course the remediation of any contamination is another one. We thank you for your consideration and hope you will vote for our projects when they are presented. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stilio. It's moved and seconded that the report be received and placed on file. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes. This brings us to Article 5, brought by the Capital Planning Committee. Under Article 5, and I'm going to read the 3 motions together. We'll consider them and address debate as a whole on the motions. Motion number 1, it's moved and seconded that the town appropriate the sum of $11,406.55 from surpluses in previously appropriated cemetery capital projects to the Cemetery Permanent Care Fund as follows. And the motion is set forth there in the materials, the motion book on page 7 that's been provided to us. Motion number 2, it's moved and seconded that the town appropriate the sum of $31,194.25 from surpluses previously appropriated capital accounts to the Building Stabilization Fund as follows, from the account numbers and in the amounts set forth in the motion booklet on page 7. Motion number 3, it's moved and seconded that the town appropriate the sum of $850 from surpluses from previously appropriated capital accounts to the Capital Stabilization Fund as follows, and is set forth in the motion booklet on page 8 from the Capital Planning Committee. Mr. Carlson. The clerk reminds me that this will require a 2/3 vote for passage. Mr. Carlson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, town meeting members. Article 5 will properly close out old construction accounts. This will free up the remaining funds for use by the town in other capital projects. These transfers result from an ongoing process of the town manager's office, the comptroller, EFPBC, the capital planning committee, and others to regularly review these old accounts, and when the projects are done, close them out and return the money to the original sources so they can be used again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carlson. A recommendation from the Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee voted favorable action on all three motions. We'd like to further see more unexpended funds used on these newly identified capital projects, so we applaud them for finding the funds.
Board of Selectmen?
The board unanimously supported all three motions.
The motions now come before the meeting. Motion number 1 is previously read. All those and the chair will, this is a 2/3 vote. The chair will entertain a voice vote, and if we're able to determine 2/3 passage, we will so rule, and if not, we will proceed to identify tellers to count the vote. So on motion number 1, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The chair declares the vote unanimous, and the motion number 1 passes. Motion number 2, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chair declares the vote unanimous. Motion number 2 passes. Motion number 3, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The chair declares the vote unanimous, and motion number 3 passes as well. Thank you very much. That brings us to Article 6. Under Article 6, brought by the Capital Planning Committee and the Board of Selectmen and the School Committee, it is moved and seconded that $45,000 be appropriated from free cash to prepare an update to the 2006-2007 Winchester Public School Master Plan. Said appropriation to be expended under the direction of the town manager and the school committee. Presenting Chris Nixon, the chairman of the school committee. Mr. Nixon.
And Mr. Moderator, if you would be so kind while Matt's assisting me to recognize Superintendent of Schools McAuliffe so that we can make a joint presentation this evening.
Certainly, Mr. McAuliffe.
Thank you. John. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Town meeting members, good evening. My name is Chris Nixon. I rise tonight as the interim school committee representative to the Capital Planning Committee, or as I prefer to say, I'm keeping Sarah Swiger's seat warm while she's recovering, and I look forward to her return soon as well. Tonight, the superintendent and I are pleased to present Article 6, jointly sponsored by the Capital Planning Committee, School Committee, and the Board of Selectmen. So what is a facilities master plan? It's a vision for the support, expansion, consolidation, or transformation of district facilities that provides flexibility to accommodate changes in enrollment, educational goals, and programming. A master plan does align with the district's educational programming and planning and plans for growth and the best use of our facilities and properties with preliminary cost, phasing, and schedule options. The document can assist in the procurement of funds, whether as a reference point for the Capital Planning Committee vetting small to medium projects, or the Massachusetts School Building Authority in consideration of the district's statement of interest and potential state reimbursement. A master plan does not include the detailed design of new buildings or additions, nor the specific financial plan for implementation. So what's our proposal? We propose to revise the existing outdated plan reporting on current conditions, constraints, and capacities of the district's properties. The update will include a safety and security assessment of the district's 5 elementary schools and middle school, as well as a review of our school's playfield space. The update will comply with MSBA regulations and guidelines and consider both short and long-term needs. So why now? It's good practice for institutions to update their master plans every decade. A plan more than 10 years old loses its relevance to today's institutional needs and program. Development of the current master plan began nearly 8 years ago during the 2006-2007 school year, and since its approval, many of the recommendations have either been completed or are underway, including the modular classroom project at Ambrose and Morocco in the fall of 2008, the subsequent E-Wing addition at McCall Middle School, the reconstruction of Vincent Owen, and the new Winchester High School. While smaller scale projects at Morocco and Lynch have addressed some of the most pressing needs, such as the modular gas-fired boilers and heating system at Morocco, or the bathroom renovation project at Lynch, the 2007 recommendations for wholesale renovation and addition at these schools remains unfulfilled. So why not just follow through with the master plan we have and finish Lynch and Morocco? Simply put, it's not that simple. Enrollment growth since 2007 district-wide has exceeded projections, and new student support or education delivery models have their own space requirements. With shifts in our student subgroups, changing demographics, and 2012's redistricting, today we are better able to define and plan for space and program needs on a building-by-building basis. And this is important, for while our 5 elementary schools are today closer in enrollment than they've ever been, with the fewest number of classes exceeding class size guidelines, there is little to no additional space remaining for continued enrollment growth. A master plan update will help the administration and school committee contemplate the fit-up of the shell space at Vincent Owen, the needs of today and tomorrow at Lynch and Morocco, or the shifting of programs at one school to accommodate limitations at another. 2009's McCall addition alleviated the enrollment bubble hitting the middle school at the time. However, sustained K-5 enrollment growth in the years afterwards means continued pressure to find, create, or reallocate space for our grades 6 through 8 students. Mr. McAuliffe.
Chair recognizes Mr. McAuliffe, the superintendent of the Winchester Public Schools. Mr. McAuliffe.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Nixon, and good evening, town meeting. Similar to the previous effort, the master plan update will include a space assessment of our school buildings, with the exception of the high school, and a review of the building envelope and facility systems at some of our older physical plants. The scope will also include consideration of long-term use, shared use, or even reuse of the Parkhurst and Mystic schools, and the carriage house will be included in that as well. For this iteration of the master plan, Winchester Public School fields, those play areas and field spaces that are adjacent to and a part of the school site, will be included in the scope. The school committee seeks an understanding of play field demand as a result of increasing enrollment and the possible impact on availability, accessibility, and utilization in order to ensure that they meet future program requirements. It is expected that the master plan review team will consist of a number of different specialists. Architects who are familiar with school design and construction will review building envelope, general facility conditions, space functionality, and capacity. Engineers who are familiar with school design and construction will review mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection systems. Safety and security consultants will review opportunities for us to enhance safety and security measures at our schools. A demographic consultant will prepare enrollment projections. And finally, construction cost estimators will provide potential cost impacts for both short and long-term needs that may be recommended. Updating the 2007 master plan sets us up for success and does so in a number of ways. As the current plan did over the last number of years, a revised plan gives us the capability of identifying both short-term and long-term needs, and to do that with the most current and up-to-date data. A revised master plan will help and assist in both the school departments and towns' capital planning process. A revised master plan positions us to be ready to submit a statement of interest to the Mass School Building Authority when appropriate. And by the way, having a current school facilities master plan is an MSBA requirement if a town wishes to partner with the MSBA on a school construction project. Having a current master plan was a significant advantage when we submitted the VO and high school statements of interest, and perhaps an even stronger example of the benefits of having an updated plan was the opportunity we had in the fall of 2010 when the MSBA had funds that were outside of the school construction program, and funds that were available for a very limited time for only school roof or school window projects. Having a current master plan at that time allowed us a quick access to receiving over $500,000 in reimbursement from the MSBA to install a new roof at the Lynch School. Thank you for allowing us to present this, and I'm sure we'll be available for any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. McAuliffe. This is a majority vote. It comes on the motion as previously stated. Can we have a recommendation from the Finance Committee? Mr. Melkonian.
The Finance Committee moves for favorable action on this motion. The estimates from the school committee appear to be based on realistic assumptions for how much a revised master plan will cost the town. We look forward to reviewing the revised master plan, as it will give us a clearer picture of the physical plant of our schools, identify those facilities most in need of repair, and aid the town in identifying potential future costs.
Thank you. Recommendation from the Board of Selectmen? Ms. Wilson?
The board was proud to be a co-sponsor of this article and so unanimously supports it.
Matter now comes before the meeting. Majority vote required. Yes, the chair recognizes Ms. Savage. Is there a microphone present? Ms. Savage, could you do us a favor of coming down to the microphone? Is there a hand microphone around? They have one up there. Somebody else's responsibility.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I support the motion. And I just have a quick question regarding community use of our school buildings. I don't know if that's a topic that could be incorporated into a master plan document, but as we deal with enrollment growth, if there are any incentives for folks whose children have left the school system to stay in part of town and be part of a lifelong learning community. I know other communities have tried to make use of their school buildings for use in the evenings, weekends, and off-season. And I just wonder if that's a possibility to incorporate into a master plan or if that is outside of that.
Thank you very much. Community use of school buildings. Mr. Nixon.
Thank you for the question, Ms. Savage. A master plan would not typically entertain community use as a function, though that could certainly be something we might articulate in the RFP to identify those areas. That question and that kind of analysis was part of our early discussions on the high school as well, when the program was being developed for the new Winchester High School, in which we've identified spaces for some shared use or community use. So we could certainly entertain that as well in the master plan as we develop the RFP.
Thank you, Mr. Nixon. Further on the question. Yes, Mr. Stone.
I'm Roger Wilson, Precinct 1. I want to ask that this study is transportation part of the scope, how the kids get to school and whether there's an opportunity to influence that in the course of the capital investment.
Mr. McAuliffe.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. It's not currently being considered as part of the scope. The estimate for the cost of updating this plan included the scope of work that we discussed, and we certainly, I think, will consider that in discussion when we put the RFP together. And if there's a way to construct the RFP where there's an opportunity to do so and not impact the cost, I think that that's certainly something to be considered.
Thank you, Mr. McAuliffe. Further in the question, matter now comes before the, yes.
Ginny Reeder, Precinct 5. I'm still trying to wrap my arms around the idea that this happened 7 years ago and we're doing it again, even though supposedly we don't have to do it for once every 10 years. And one of the reasons, I think, was because they're updating safety requirements, and I would really love to understand what the plan looked like 7 years ago. Why wasn't the fire systems evaluated then? It's kind of alarming to think that 7 years ago, which wasn't very long ago, those things weren't addressed at the time. And I'd also like to know how much it cost 7 years ago. I mean, $45,000, is that just a drop in the bucket? Or is that actually, are we reinventing the wheel really in a fairly short amount of time? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Nixon, on the relative cost of it compared to the original cost and the need for the update on a 7-year basis.
Thank you for your questions. I'll take them in reverse order. This is not sort of a shot in the dark with respect to cost. In fact, the master plan back in 2007 was more than $45,000. You may wonder, why are we asking for less? Really, two primary reasons. We're not throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I think many town meeting members in this room, many of you, are familiar with our current master plan. It has been well received by this community. It's easy to navigate. It's straightforward, easy to follow, and it has served us well, frankly. But we've done so much based on what was in it, and it did highlight some concerns at the time that we have simply not had the capital resources to address. So to address your question about cost, this is not a reinvention of the wheel. As a matter of fact, we're calling it an update for that reason. There's much in that master plan we like with respect to content and form that we would expect to repeat in this exercise. The other important difference is that in 2007, the Winchester High School was easily the largest single component of the master plan. I estimate at least a third of the work. And that's why, as you saw from the presentation tonight, it's eliminated because we're building a new high school. With respect to your question about safety and security, I will tell you that's not necessarily what's driving this. That's an element of it. I will tell you that certainly from the school committee's point of view, we have heightened interest and concerns about safety and security. And I'll just give you one word, Newtown, which in many respects is like a Winchester. The Vincent Owen is a brand new school, but the reason it's included in the safety and security and review is because the planning for the Vincent Owen school was complete weeks, if not months, before Newtown. So we're not suggesting we want to do major construction. It's an opportunity to look at a school with a new pair of eyes and say, are we doing everything we can? Is there something we should be doing differently? Is there something we can do to enhance the safety of our buildings, our students, and our staff? And then I think you had one other question about, perhaps it was something about cost. I want to share with you that it is appropriate now, 7 years on or more, to go back and revisit some of the assumptions and declarations in that original master plan. That plan clarified for us then what the Capital Planning Committee and the School Committee and DPW is well aware of. We have a water distribution system at the Lynch Elementary School that's within some few years of failing. They plug leaks. That takes time, it takes money, it takes resources. The electrical system at Morocco is made up of components that were built during the Eisenhower administration. So we have many elements in our buildings we knew 7 years ago would need attention. And this community, the school committee, has really kind of prioritized those needs. And I think you've seen that bear out then since 2007. So I hope I've answered your question. We think this is it's a reasonable request, one that picks up on the good work that was done. It's time to go back and refresh the plan and see maybe if there's something new we uncovered we weren't aware of 7 years ago.
Thank you, Mr. Nixon. Further on the question, motion comes before the town meeting as previously stated. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Brings us to Article 7, article brought by the Capital Planning Committee. Under Article 7 on page 10 of the booklet, this is a 2/3 vote required. Expenditure of capital funds. The motion is moved and seconded that $442,021.93 is appropriated for remodeling, reconstructing, and making extraordinary repairs to the exterior of the town's public safety building, including planning, design, and all other costs related thereto, that this appropriation shall be raised by transferring the amounts of unexpended bond proceeds as set forth below, for which the projects are complete and for which no liability remains, that the town manager is authorized to have oversight of said project, and that in accordance with Section 4-2 of the Winchester Home Rule Charter, the town manager shall have the authority to enter into contracts and approve payments with respect to said project, the closeout of the particular funds, the identification of the project, the town meeting vote, and the amounts involved totaling $442,021.93 are as set forth on page 10 of the motion booklet before us. The Capital Planning Committee, on its behalf, Mr. Johnson.
Good evening. I'm here tonight to request your support for repairs to the public safety building. This is phase 3. Take you back a little bit in history. In 2009, town meeting appropriated $1.5 million to address immediate repairs in the building. Those immediate repairs included exterior renovation, police communication system, fire department exhaust system, designs for phase 2 and fees, exterior repairs, which included roof replacement, new windows, new overhead doors to the fire department doors, ADA improvements on the outside of the site, miscellaneous immediate masonry repairs, and painting. In 2011, we came back to you to ask for $1,973,458 to do interior repairs to the police communication, construction management services, interior work that included the installation of new HVAC system and ADA updates inside the building for the fire and police department. These upgrades included the fire department also got a kitchen, engine bay repairs, new floor, and bathroom and individual rooms. Tonight I'm here to ask for Phase 3, which is to address the outside of the building primarily to repoint the exterior of the building, which is required to stop the building from leaking and weeping. Now, it's $442,000. Our funding mechanism is from closeouts, as stated earlier by the moderator. We hope that this will be the last phase. We can't promise it. It is a 100-year-old building, and we are constantly looking at any needs the fire department, public, and police department may require. But we feel that this will make the building weather-tight and prolong the life of the building. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. A recommendation from the Finance Committee. Mr. Melkonian.
The Finance Committee voted favorable action on this. It's an urgent project that will remediate water damage to the building, and it is necessary to secure a valuable town asset from further damage.
Thank you, Mr. Melkonian. Recommendation from the Board of Selectmen. Ms. Wilson.
The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. We note that this is one of those examples of where the aggressive use of closeouts that was described earlier in his comments by the Chair of the Finance Committee is serving the town well in times of scarce capital resources.
Further on the question, this comes before the town meeting on the motion as previously stated. Yes, Mr. Wilson. There is a Roger Stone in town, by the way. I apologize for that earlier.
I just wondered if there's an estimate of the actual cost of pointing, because the appropriation here is just the sum of all the leftover money from everywhere else.
Mr. Johnson.
The repointing project was approximately $435,000. If there is any money left over from this project, we'll be back in a couple of years and has to have it reverted for another project. We did have, I believe it was Gale Associates, do an evaluation of it along with Meg White, and they developed the specs to put out to bid.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Further on the question, motion comes before the town meeting as previously stated, 2/3 vote being required. Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Silver Knives, Precinct 6. Sorry, it lists school repairs as an almost $300,000 closeout. What was that from? And is it something that could no longer be used forward for additional school repairs that are needed now?
The school repair money originally was from the original Ambrose School. It was a window account, and it could only be used at specific times for specific projects. Thanks to the town controller, Stacy, she brought it to our attention that this is a project that it could be used for. This goes, like I say, back to the original Ambrose School. Originally, it wasn't intended, wasn't used in the Ambrose School after we thought about it because we were going for a new building.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Further on the question, comes before the meeting on the motion as previously stated. The chair will entertain a voice vote to start with. 2/3 vote being required. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any opposed? 1 no. The chair finds that the vote passes the 2/3 threshold, declares that the motion has passed. Article 8 comes before the town meeting, brought by the Capital Planning Committee. The motion is moved and seconded. The sum of $256,633.50 is appropriated for planning, design, engineering, and construction of drainage improvements in the Wildwood Street, Thornton Road, New Meadows Road, and Cambridge Street area, including planning, design, and all of the costs related thereto, that this appropriation shall be raised by transferring the amounts of unexpended bond proceeds as set forth below, for which the projects are complete and for which no liability remains, that the town manager is authorized to have oversight of said project, and that in accordance with Section 4-2 of the Winchester Home Rule Charter, the town manager shall have the authority to enter into contracts and approve payments with respect to said project, the projects being identified. The town meeting vote in the amounts totaling $256,633.50 is set forth on page 11 of the motion booklet in front of us. Ms. Kreger, in her role as a member of the Capital Planning Committee. Ms. Kreger.
Many hats. Yes, we're here to talk about Wildwood and Cambridge Streets, New Meadows, and Thornton Roads. This is an area that historically has had a considerable amount of flooding in the past, a lot of drainage problems. And very recently, it's experienced about $20,000 in private property damage this last summer just due to storm damage. It rises very, very quickly in that area. A preliminary study was initiated in 2013, and the current funding request, as indicated, is to complete the final design, permitting, and construction of drainage improvements. That will include utility and topographical surveys, as well as geotechnical borings. Let's see. So we have all of that I've just been through. We're completing the final design. But you know what they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So you can see the problems that the people who live in these areas have really been dealing with, you know, both further back in history and more recently, just this past summer. It's been pretty monumental over there. So what we are really looking for is for this request, a capital request as indicated for $256,633.50. Approximately $50,000 is for investigation and design, and approximately $20,000 is for construction. And the funding will be provided by closeouts of the following accounts. The Manchester Field drainage improvements, $255,035.35, and Johnson Road sewer improvements, $1,598.15. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kreger. We have a recommendation from the Finance Committee. Mr. Melkonian.
The Finance Committee voted favorable action on this article. While recognizing the urgency of the project to protect the homes in the affected neighborhoods, this is a project that we need to keep track of as we get a firmer estimate on the total construction costs of the town in order to complete it.
Thank you. Recommendation from the Board of Selectmen. Ms. Wilson.
The Board of Selectmen unanimously recommends favorable action. This is a flooding issue that's different from the type of Aberjona flooding that we have our flood mitigation program geared toward. This is a separate type of flooding related to drainage. The closeouts come from accounts that are within the water and sewer budget, and appropriately they're being used on a similar type of project. Thank you.
Further on the question, 2/3 vote being required. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm Bob Crockett. I'm Precinct 7. These last three articles here, finding this money in this closeouts and all this sort of thing, it makes me wonder what happens between 2009 and 2014. Why wasn't some of this $255,000 available in the spring? Or last year, last fall. The other comment I have is, I really don't like this idea of this capital money that it was allocated for a specific task, coming back to the town meeting at seemingly convenient opportunities when other projects are going on. This money, I believe, should be returned to the town, and then the town take that money and allocate it amongst all of the competitive capital things that want to go on in this town. It shouldn't be allocated for, oh, well, another kind of a project for, as somebody mentioned, I can't remember who it was, about the money being used because it's an extension kind of thing. No. No business in this world is going to be doing it that way. Money comes back, the business or the town, if you want to call it, would go ahead and then allocate that money with the competition of the other capital projects that are competing for this same money. The town doesn't necessarily own this money. The town the town citizens own this money. And you shouldn't be giving this stuff away the way we're doing it. That it's not right. And this money is laying around here for 6 or 7 years. I don't get it. You know, why that's a good idea for the town. Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Crockett. Mr. Crockett raises a question that is an important one, I think, and that is with respect to these closeouts, how and when are these funds available? These are funds that are the result of public debt borrowing. They cannot, it turns out, simply be repurposed to any cause that the town may find appropriate. They need to be used only in connection, as Mr. Johnson noted earlier, with a project of a similar nature that falls within the borrowing purposes as set forth in the original indenture or bond offering. It's something that's highly regulated by the Department of Revenue, and it's necessary that the reappropriation fall within that purpose that the original purchasers of these bonds understood that they would be used for. The very question you raised, Mr. Crockett, I think was a good one. I raised it myself recently. Could these funds be returned to the general fund? It turns out that only under a process by which they're re-amortized towards the general obligations of the town, they could not all be appropriated at once. Mr. Howard actually has a fairly strong command of these issues, and I'd ask he could address your question.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I think you covered the topic. It's exactly as you said. To address a couple of the questions that were in the question, we have pushed within the manager's office for all of our financial departments because of the tightness in the capital allocations that we know exist in the two stabilization funds and the pressure that each of the several town meetings and budgets that we've put together over the last couple of years that is received from capital to be able, capital planning committee to be able to find additional resources. We have started out on this concerted effort to scour all of these old capital initiatives that leave unexpended resources left over. And it is, just as the moderator said, we can't pull them back in for general allocation purposes. But we are, I think, doing exactly what the member asked, which is putting them back into the process. And they are coming back to town meeting for your approval, but they are going through the usual process that you would entertain every spring, which is the capital planning committee and finance committee and the board and our office analyzing what they can be used for, what the appropriate targets are, and where the recommendations lie. That's the very outcome of all the various articles that you see before you tonight, some of which are reliant upon some of these old funds being applied for their usage. So I would hope that with that explanation, the member would understand that it is part of the usual process that we've gone through and that we are restricted in utilizing these funds for the kinds of projects that are being recommended to you tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Further on the question. I'm sorry. Yes, Mr. Friesel.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm in favor of the project. It seems to be needed, but I have to say I find it a little unusual that we're funding a project with construction costs unknown. So we're going into a project, we don't know exactly how much it's going to really cost to get the job done and get it done right. We don't know if we have all the money we need to do that. So I'm a little concerned, how do we know that we're going to be able to effectively do this project? And if we, in the middle of it, find we need more money, where's that coming from to get it done right?
Thank you, Mr. Friesel. Mr. Howard, in response to Mr. Friesel's question.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Excellent point by the member. We have the exact same concern. So what the understanding is with between the manager's office and capital planning and finances that we will use these funds to develop the project scope and the estimation. If in the event that amount of work tells us that we cannot do this project and fit within the available resources that we have, we will not have the project go forward. We will, in fact, come back and regroup for a Springtown meeting.
Thank you.
Otherwise, we will, if we can do it within the allocated resources, move forward so that we can get it done expeditiously and avoid any future potential flooding events. So.
Thank you. Further on the question? Motion comes before the town meeting as previously stated. A 2/3 vote being required, the chair will entertain a voice vote in the first instance. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chair declares the vote unanimous and the motion passes. This brings us to Article 9, brought by the Capital Planning Committee, and it's moved and seconded the amount of $121,000 be appropriated from the Cemetery Permanent Care Fund for the construction of columbarium niche wall, including planning, design, and all other costs incidental and related thereto. On behalf of the motion, Mr. Carlson for the Capital Planning Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, town meeting members. Article 9 will appropriate funds from the Cemetery Permanent Care Fund to design and construct the columbarium niche wall in the Dell area of the cemetery. It will have 72 double niches and will hold 144 cremains. This is a project that satisfies a need that's been identified by the cemetery management, and it will generate revenue for the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carlson. We have a recommendation from the Finance Committee. Mr. Melkonian.
The Finance Committee voted favorable action on this article. The project is funded within the budget of the Cemetery Permanent Care Fund and a small amount with account closeouts.
From the Board of Selectmen, Ms. Wilson.
The Board of Selectmen recommends favorable action. This is a project that's been in the planning for a long time and will help this cemetery to both satisfy need and to generate revenue.
Further on the question, motion comes before the town meeting as previously stated, majority vote being required. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. This brings us to Article 10, also brought by the Capital Planning Committee. Under Article 10, it is moved and seconded the amount of $1,300,000 is appropriated for improvements to the gatehouse structure and replacement of the low-level outlet at the South Reservoir Dam, including all costs incidental or related thereto. To meet this appropriation, the Treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow the amount of $1,300,000 under Chapter 44 of the General Laws or under any other enabling authority, that the Town Manager is authorized to have oversight of said project, and that in accordance with Section 4-2 of the Winchester Home Rule Charter, the Town Manager will have the authority to enter into contracts and approve payments with respect to said project. On behalf of the Capital Planning Committee, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson.
Good evening again. As we all know, the town of Winchester is very fortunate because we have our own water supply. At any time given in the year, provide the town with roughly 1/3 to 2/3 of the town's demands. Town reservoir was built in the 1870s, the wisdom of many smart people. The town owns this north, south, and middle reservoirs, which trickle down into the South Reservoir. Primarily, it's raw water. It goes into our treatment plant, and it's made safe for us to drink. The South Dam is the last dam before it hits the treatment plant. Right now, we have a problem with it. For years, we've had a problem with the low-level outlet, which is basically the way to drain the water out of the reservoirs. It's the quickest way to announce it. We cannot really drain that reservoir in a proper manner because the gates are old. They go back to 1870. They have to be updated. We're under order by the State Dam Commission to fix the damn thing. Now, that's the South Reservoir. That's a view of the pumping station. It's a very interesting building. It was built in the 1870s, like I said. But what you don't see here is below ground. It goes down about 40 feet. There's water inside and outside, and the only way to access these valves is to actually have a dive teams go inside the building, dive down, and replace the valves. It's a long, tedious, and very expensive job, unfortunately. As you remember, a couple of years, last year, 2013, we appropriated money for Western Sansum to investigate and develop a plan for, to bring forward to this town meeting for permitting, design, and the rehabilitation of this outlet, hopefully for next year. The funding of the amount is $1.3 million. Originally, we thought it'd be about $1 million, but it hasn't been. Town manager, in his wisdom, tried to secure outside funding from the state, and we didn't get the damn money. Once completed, this will serve the community. It will allow us to control the water flow. It will allow us to lower or increase the levels of the water, but primarily will allow us to drain down the reservoirs if we have to in case of emergency or for maintenance or for any other reasons we want. So we ask that you support this for not just Winchester, but our downstream neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Recommendation from the Finance Committee. Mr. Melconian.
The Finance Committee voted favorable action on this article.
Thank you. Recommendation from the Board of Selectmen. Ms. Wilson.
The Board of Selectmen also recommends favorable action on this article. I'd like to just take a moment to mention that this project is funded out of the Water and Sewer Enterprise account, as are one or two other projects on tonight's agenda. And the Board of Selectmen has taken this opportunity to revisit an analysis of what would the impact of this project be on water and sewer rates. We do a water and sewer review occasionally. It's been a while since we've gone out to do a full-fledged assessment, looking forward several years to see when is it time to do an increase. I should say that we're proud that we have not increased rates in 7 years, but it's probably getting close to time, and we'll be looking at that in the spring. And this project is one that might have a modest impact on what the rate increase might prove to be. We will continue to be pursuing grant opportunities, and with or without the grant, we think this should go forward, but we hope we can reduce the cost through grants. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Further on the question. Motion comes before the town meeting as previously stated. It requires a 2/3 vote because of the borrowing of funds in this instance. Chair will entertain a voice vote in the first instance. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chair declares the vote unanimous. The motion passes. This brings us to Article 11, also brought by the Capital Planning Committee. Under Article 11, it is moved and seconded that the amount of $500,000 be appropriated from the Capital Stabilization Fund established under Chapter 69 of the Acts of 2002 for the reconstruction of the Mount Vernon Street Bridge for the purpose of flood mitigation, including the construction of an additional culvert, including planning, design, and all other costs incidental and related thereto. On the motion, on behalf of the Capital Planning Committee, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Again, this is part of our ongoing flood mitigation program. Capital funding will provide funding for this through the Capital Stabilization Fund. This is identified as project number 4, which is the Mount Vernon Street Bridge. We're increasing the flowing capacity there by constructing an additional 4th culvert in the existing culverts. If you remember earlier in this presentation, Jennifer made a presentation that showed 3 culverts here. Through the magic of photography and staff, they added a 4th culvert. The intent is to update this dam. As you stated earlier, we have $2.5 million from the state. Part of those funds will be used to rebuild this bridge, update it, and we need an additional $500,000, which will be coming from our capital stabilization account. This is an ongoing project, and it will address some of our flood mitigation programs and allow us to do the next project, which will be upstream. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Recommendation from the Finance Committee, Mr. Melconian.
The Finance Committee voted favorable action on this article. We're fortunate to have received the grant from the state that will allow us to complete the Scally Dam improvements as well as complete a major portion of the Mount Vernon Street Bridge. Even with its current limited capacity, combined with the state grant, we can fund this out of the Capital Stabilization Fund.
Thank you. Recommendation from the Finance Committee, Ms. Wilson. From Board of Selectmen.
The board so unanimously recommends favorable action on this. With the $2.5 million, we can get the bridge done, we can get the Scally Dam done. And you may recall, we used to talk about that culvert project at Skilling's Field, and there used to be a discussion about, well, we can build it, but would we be able to use it yet? And maybe we wouldn't. These are the projects that will allow us to not only have the benefit of Mount Vernon Street, Scally, but when we are able to do the Skillings project, we'll actually be able to open that culvert and use it. So big bang for the buck for this one.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Further on the question. Motion comes before the meeting as previously stated, a two-thirds vote being required. The chair will entertain a voice vote in the first instance. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. This brings us to Article 12, also brought by the Capital Planning Committee, and under Article 12, it is moved and seconded that the amount of $500,000 is appropriated for water main lining in the Ware Road and North Wood Road area and for town-wide lead neck removal, including all design, engineering, and other costs incidental or related thereto, and that the Treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow all or a portion of such amount from the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority, and in connection therewith to enter into a loan agreement and financial assistance agreement with the authority, and to accept any grants for the project from the MWRA, provided that the amount of the authorized borrowing shall be reduced by the amount of any such grants received from the MWRA, that the town manager is authorized to have oversight of said project, and in accordance with Section 4-2 of the Winchester Home Rule Charter, the town manager shall have the authority to enter into contracts and approve payments with respect to said project. On behalf of the Capital Planning Committee, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Back again today to ask for additional funds in the amount of $500,000 to do some cleaning and lining of approximately 1,800 linear feet of water mains around the Ware Road, North Border Road entrance, and also to remove lead neck removal program. Unlined water mains are causing dirty water in that area, and if you live in that area, we're sorry, but we want to address it so you won't have it in the future. If you look on the screen, you'll see what really happens to old pipes. They become very ugly. What we hope to do with it, what we will do with this project, we'll have a contractor come in, clean the pipes, reline them in cement, so prevent the water from that will allow the water to flow. It will not allow the rust, or whatever you want to call it, crud, to heave to the wall. This is an ongoing project. The last project did was several years ago, and I'm told by DPW this is the last one within the town. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. A recommendation from the Finance Committee. Mr. Malconi.
The Finance Committee voted favorable action on this article.
May we have a recommendation from the Board of Selectmen. Ms. Wilson.
The board also recommends favorable action.
Further on the question on the motion is brought under Article 12. Motion comes before the town meeting as previously stated. A two-thirds vote required for passage. The chair will entertain a voice vote in the first instance. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chair declares the vote unanimous. The motion passes. This brings us to Article 13, also brought by the Capital Planning Committee. And under Article 13, it is moved and seconded that the amount of $276,000 is appropriated for sewer improvements in the Stoll Road and Marshall Road areas, including all design, engineering, and other costs incidental and related thereto, that the Treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow all or a portion of such amount from the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority, and in connection therewith to enter into a loan agreement, financial assistance agreement with the authority, and to accept any grants for the project from the MWRA, provided that the amount of the authorized borrowing shall be reduced by the amount of any such grants received from the MWRA, that the town manager is authorized to have oversight of said project, and that in accordance with Section 4-2 of the Winchester Home Rule Charter, the town manager shall have the authority to enter into contracts and approve payments with respect to said project. On Article 13, on behalf of the Capital Planning Committee, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson.
Peter, I think you did a great job saying that. Thank you. On behalf of the Capital Planning Project, we're asking your support for a water and sewer improvement program in the Stoll and Marshall Road areas. Problem is sewer lines rot. We need to completely repair the sewer line and sewer manholes in the Stoll and Marshall Road areas. These pipes are broken, they have roots, they have pipe sagging, contribute to irregular sewer issues such as surcharges on private property and damage to the private property. It's a main issue we want to address. The amount of the money is $276,000, and guess what, folks? This is a good deal. This project is eligible by the MWRA Local Finance Assistance Program. That's with a 75% grant, which is free money. And we have a 25% loan with zero interest. We ask for your favorable support to help these neighbors out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. We have a recommendation from the Finance Committee. Mr. Melconian.
The Finance Committee voted favorable action on this article.
May we have a recommendation from the Board of Selectmen. Ms. Wilson.
The board also recommends favorable action.
Further on the question, the motion comes before the town meeting as previously stated, a two-thirds vote being required. The chair will entertain a voice vote in the first instance. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chair declares the vote unanimous and the motion passes. This brings us to Article 13, also brought by the Capital Planning Committee. Article 14, I'm sorry. And under Article 14, it is moved and seconded that the amount of $395,000 is appropriated for sewer system investigation and evaluation related to approximately 120,000 linear feet of sewer in meters number 1, 2, and 6, sewer drainage areas generally located east of Arlington Street and Amberwood Drive, north of Everett Avenue and Myopia Road, south of the Woburn City line, and west of Fletcher Street, and for investigation and evaluation services in sewers tributary to the Leslie Road, Lawson Road, Skyline Drive, Dauphin Street, Henry Street, Lock Street, Dunster Lane, Hutchinson Road, including all costs incidental or related thereto, that the Treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow all or a portion of such amount from the Massachusetts Water Resources Authority, and in connection therewith to enter into a loan agreement, financial assistance agreement with the authority, and to accept any grants for the project from the MWRA, provided that the amount of authorized borrowing shall be reduced by the amount of any such grants received from the MWRA, that the town manager is authorized to have oversight of said project, and that in accordance with Section 4-2 of the Winchester Home Rule Charter, the town manager shall have the authority to enter into contracts and approve payments with respect to said project. On behalf of the Capital Planning Committee, Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson.
Yes, thank you. This is another ongoing investigation and evaluation of approximately 120,000 linear feet of sewer in meter areas 1, 2, and 6, and drainage areas in the Leslie Road, Lawson Road, and I will show you where that will be. This project will assess the condition of existing infrastructure and provide recommendation for rehabilitation. This is part of the town's ongoing multi-year plan to remove I&I from the town's sewer system. This is the area that it includes. It's a fairly large area. Again, this is an MWA loan grant program. There's a 75% grant, and we're only responsible to repay 25% without any interest. We ask for your support, and we're looking forward to getting additional funding from MWRA in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And we have a recommendation from the Finance Committee, Mr. Melkonian.
The Finance Committee approves vote of favorable action for this article.
Thank you. Recommendation from the Board of Selectmen, Ms. Wilson.
The Selectmen also recommend favorable action.
Further on the question, motion comes before the town meeting as previously stated, two-thirds vote being required. The chair will entertain a voice vote in the first instance. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Chair declares the vote unanimous and the motion passes under Article 14. This brings us to Article 15, an article brought by the town manager. And under Article 15, it is moved and seconded, and I will read the three motions as one and entertain debate on all three motions together. Under motion number 1, moved and seconded that the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund appropriation be increased by $25,424 by increasing other expenses by said amount. Motion number 2, moved and seconded that the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund appropriation for fiscal year 2015 is $8,370,302, of which personal services is $1,149,474. Other expenses is $7,220,828. And further, that the amount of $1,189,639 appropriated in the general fund at the spring 2014 town meeting for indirect costs is allocated to the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund. Motion number 3, it is moved and seconded that the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund appropriation be funded as follows: $5,035,461 from water and sewer receipts, $228,841 from water and sewer retained earnings, and $4,295,639 from the property tax levy in accordance with Chapter 110 of the Acts of 1993. Under those motions, the proponent, the town manager, Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I would hope, even though the arithmetic looks a little jumbled around, it's a fairly straightforward article that comes before the body every November as a result of the reconciliation that has to be done after spring town meeting. The MWRA completes its budget for the fiscal year after the town meets, and as part of its budget effort, passes along some costs or reduces some costs accordingly, which is reflected here, and now we're required to set up our budget for the fiscal year 2015 the same way. So I'd be glad to take any questions on any of the motions, but I would ask for support from the membership to so reconcile our 2015 water and sewer enterprise budget.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. May we have a recommendation from the Finance Committee? Mr. Melkonian.
Finance Committee voted for favorable action on all three motions. These are necessary motions within the article to do the reconciliation on this account.
Recommendation from the Board of Selectmen? Ms. Wilson.
The selectmen recommend favorable action for the same reasons.
Further on the question. Motion comes before the town meeting as previously stated, a majority vote being required. Mr. Friesel. We need to keep the hand mic in circulation there. Actually, you could come down to the end of the aisle if you'd like. I'm sorry to trouble you with that. It's a little exercise. Things are getting boring.
Just a question on the one part of this. I'm not familiar with how we move money from the general fund into the water sewer enterprise fund. I thought as an enterprise fund, it was standing on its own. So how do we just move money out of the general fund, which is right, tax revenues, general tax revenues, for indirect costs? So we just shift it over to the enterprise fund. So explain for me then whether we really have a true enterprise fund if we're moving money around like that.
We do, with the exception that the town, going back a ways, has adopted Chapter 110, which allows the revenue to be created within the enterprise fund to be partly apportioned to the tax bill. It's that 86.47% or thereabouts, whatever the percentage is, 86.45, comes in the form of taxation that is issued for debt only.
Right.
Yep.
I worked on that many years ago, sitting there. So I thought that was just debt service.
Debt service, right.
So why it says indirect cost? So that's debt service.
No, the indirect costs not being affected here. So this thing is the same.
Well, it says $1,189,000 and change appropriated in the general fund for indirect costs.
So Mr. Friesel points the proponent to the end of motion number 2, which reads as stated by Mr. Friesel.
Yeah, that is merely restating the number that was adopted in the spring. That is not changing.
Okay. So if we turn our attention to page 20 of the motion booklet, the amounts that have changed, I believe, are bolded. So the under the category fall town meeting request, indirect costs reads the same as spring town meeting voted budget. That may be, it may simply be that we've enacted the error noted by Mr. Friesel once before, for which we seek to be excused as well, I guess. But it seems like there should be a response to that question.
It would be, that part of it is a good correction, would be a typographical error. Yeah. It's not in the general fund, right?
Okay, so it's from the enterprise fund. It's not from the general fund.
No, it's indirect cost, but somehow in the motion it got referenced as in the general fund. It should be within the enterprise fund.
It should be.
Within the enterprise fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's, I think then, if that's the case, we should entertain an amendment to the motion so that we're accurately stating it. While the board confers on that issue, Mr. Sekaris had a question. I don't know whether that's still relevant, and it is not. So we'll, yes, Ms. Cluley.
The comptroller can answer that question. It's not an error, but can we ask Steve Ward to answer the question?
Ms. Cluley directs the board's attention to the expertise of Ms. Ward, the comptroller, who she assures us can answer the question. It's all on you now, Ms. Ward.
The spotlight is on. The reason why it says they're appropriate in the general fund is because those are costs such as health insurance, pension, everything that we do actually appropriate in the general fund. So what happens is the water and the recreation enterprise sends over the money as a transfer to help the general fund pay for those items. Does that?
It's going the other way.
It's an Yes, it's basically an interdepartmental charge. The general fund will pay it, and the water fund pays the general fund back.
So as stated by Ms. Ward, it's that these accounts incur a certain allocation for indirect costs for which the town budget bears the burden, and then accordingly and appropriately that cost that the town has borne is reallocated in connection with this motion to be appropriately applied to the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund. I think an allocation issue and not a moving money around issue, as I understand it.
Right, and the actual indirect cost in this motion hasn't changed. It's what was appropriated in the spring.
Further on the question? Motion comes before the town meeting on the question as previously stated, a majority vote being required. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Ms. Ward, thank you for your assistance on that. This brings us to Article 16, which is a motion brought by the town manager. Under Article 16, it's moved and seconded that the amount of $60,000 be appropriated from the parking meter fund to the Wedgemere Parking Article Assessment Account number 0396912 to pay for expenses associated with the operation of the Wedgemere Commuter Station parking lot. Mr. Howard, the town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As the town meeting may recall, we've set up a management arrangement for about 117 parking spaces at the Wedgemere commuter rail stop, and we've had that arrangement in place with the DCR, the Department of Conservation and Recreation. That's a body of the Commonwealth, since October of last year. In the spring, we kind of outlaid our estimations for costs going forward for that portion of the year leading up to the end of fiscal year 2014. This is our estimation to cover costs for FY 2015. It's our estimation that revenues will exceed that. The revenues that come in from the fee for spaces at the lot go into our parking fund. They have to come out of there in order to pay the expenses associated with the Wedgemere lot, which are set up in this separate account and paid for out of there. We expect that this estimated amount of $60,000 will cover our cost for the machinery that we have recently leased as part of the parking payment plan at the lot, and also the cost that we anticipate paying over to DCR as part of our license agreement with that entity for management of the lot. We expect that total revenue should come in, again, it's on an estimated basis because obviously the rate of consumer activity in the lot can change in any given day, but over the last 6 months of the last year, the revenues have been coming in at roughly $8,000 a month, about 80 parkers every day in the lot now at $5 a day, or some portion of thereof, but almost all of them are full daily parkers at the $5 rate. So we estimate that anywhere from $80,000 to $90,000 will come in over the course of 2015, and this $60,000 allocation should cover our expenses that will pay out of this Wedgemere account.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. May we have a recommendation from the Finance Committee? Mr. Melconi.
The Finance Committee voted for favorable action on this article.
Thank you. From the Board of Selectmen, Ms. Wilson.
The Finance that's a flashback. The Board of Selectmen also recommends favorable action.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. We all have those identity crises from moment to moment. Further on the question, the motion comes before the town meeting as previously stated, majority vote being required. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. That brings us to Article 17. Article 17, brought by the town comptroller, related to the potential transfer of sums to be received by a settlement and to be reallocated to the Workers' Compensation Fund. That legal settlement has not taken effect yet. No funds have been being received. It's not necessary to act on the motion, and it's moved and seconded that the motion under Article 17 be indefinitely postponed. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion's indefinitely postponed. This brings us to Article 18. Under Article 18, brought by the Board of Selectmen, it is moved and seconded that the amount of $250,000 is appropriated for the necessary repairs of the Fernway retaining wall. Such repairs to be performed with the authorization of the Board of Selectmen pursuant to Chapter 16 of the Code of Bylaws. That to meet this appropriation, the Treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, is authorized to borrow $250,000 under Chapter 44 of the General Laws or any other enabling authority, that the Town Manager is authorized to have oversight of said project, and in accordance with Section 4-2 of the Winchester Home Rule Charter, the Town Managers have the authority to enter into contracts and approve payments with respect to said project, and further, that the Board of Selectmen shall assess betterments for such repairs in accordance with said Chapter 16 of the Code of Bylaws and take any other action necessary to carry out the project. On behalf of the motion, Mr. Powers. On behalf of the Board of Selectmen, Mr. Powers.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, Board of Selectmen members, fellow members, Finance Committee. This article is a little bit unfortunate the way it's going. I think that the Board of Selectmen and all of you out there would have preferred that the neighbors could get together and make an agreement that would not involve the town. But the board can assure you that right now, if we pass this, it will be a no-cost item to the town. It will just go to betterments for the people that are up in that area. That's also unfortunate. We also would like to report that the town manager and his office has done everything they could do in talking to the neighbors, and we've had 3 meetings, and then we had a hearing on October 15th, at which point we gave the neighbors till February 1st, I believe, to answer back, and hopefully they could put a package together. We're just showing you a portion of the wall, the way it exists. And we did make a concession with the neighbors originally when Weston and Sampson looked at it. We were talking about 200 feet, and we've lowered it to 100 feet, which has cut the cost some. Back to the betterment one. The betterments, there's 21 different properties that have access by the driveway. That was the determination of the best way to do it. Into the finance part of it, the funding request from us is $250,000. The estimated construction cost is $209,000. The design and engineering is $23,000, and the contingency is $18,000. These figures are not all final until we finally finish it at the end and get the final figures from Weston and Sampson. Right now, we have $7,000 invested in studying it to make sure that we know what is going on, and I think we do. But again, we have till February 1st for the neighbors to come back in, and hopefully they do. But otherwise, we need your support to be able to come up with the $250,000, which we assure you will be paid through betterments and not through the town budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. A recommendation from the Finance Committee.
The Finance Committee voted for favorable action on this article. We understand that there will be no cost to the town, and hopefully the neighbors will get together and fund it on their own.
Further on the question, yes. Mr. Ferguson, and then we'll...
Obviously, did a survey to find that it was not on town or state property. Had the wall been on town or state property, who would have been responsible for repairing it?
Mr. Howard, Town Manager.
Either the town or the state, wherever the property existed.
Thank you. Sir.
What's the history of recovery of these kinds of funds if the neighbors are recalcitrant?
Mr. Howard.
This is an assessment similar to real estate taxes, so it goes as a lien on the property if it goes unpaid. In the town's recent history, there have been probably one, I was going to say 1 or 2, but only one on Myopia Road, similar project where a similar assessment was assessed on real estate for various owners that are on that way over a period of years and entirely collected. interest as well and cost.
Yes, Mr. Conti.
For the town going to the trouble of undertaking this project when it doesn't appear that any town property is involved, and Cambridge Street is a state road, so why do we need to get involved at all?
Thank you, Mr. Conti. Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Town management and the board, all parties involved believe it's a public safety issue. We certainly wouldn't want to leave the wall in the condition that you've seen it in from these photographs. Sizable boulders, in the event that initiated this whole issue, have rolled out onto Route 3, would definitely make it a danger to the driving public, and it's also a danger to our own public safety officers who may have to respond to that area of town from time to time. So we believe it's in the benefit of public safety to take the appropriate set of repairs that we've identified.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Further on the question, the motion comes before the town meeting as previously stated. A two-thirds vote is required. The chair will entertain a voice vote. In the first instance, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The chair declares that the motion has passed by more than two-thirds. The motion passes. This brings us to Article 19. Article 19, brought by the Finance Committee. We will consider the four motions under Article 19 together, and accordingly, those motions are as follows. Under motion number 1, moved and seconded that the town vote to increase the amount that was appropriated for personal services in the Treasurer's Department, budget number 1350 for fiscal year 2015 by the amount of $5,182. Motion number 2, moved and seconded that the town vote to increase the amount that was appropriated for personal services in the Data Processing Department, budget number 1530 for fiscal year 2015 by the amount of $1,085. Motion number 3, moved and seconded that the town increase the fiscal year 2015 budget appropriation for interest on debt account 7120 by the amount of $44,031.25. And motion number 4, it's moved and seconded that the town reclassify the funding source for fiscal year 2015 appropriation for $16,250 for interest on the Winchester High School feasibility study bond anticipation notes from the Building Stabilization Fund to funding through taxation as a debt exclusion in the interest on debt account 7120. On behalf of those motions in the Finance Committee, Mr. Melkonian. Mr. Melkonian.
Thank you. Just some background on motion number 1. This is a request for an increase to the fiscal year 2015 Treasurer Collector budget as necessitated by the payment of an out-of-grade salary to cover an unanticipated medical leave, and also for the granting of an additional step increase to the Treasurer Collector at the end of fiscal year 2014, but subsequent to the 2014 Springtown meeting approval of this budget. Would you like me to continue with the other three motions?
Yes, please. We'll entertain debate on all four motions as a whole, so if you could present on those, that would be helpful.
Very good. The motion 2 background, this request is for an increase to the fiscal year 2015 data processing budget as necessitated by the approval of a step increase and a $600 travel stipend that was granted at the end of fiscal year 2014 and subsequent to the 2014 Springtown meeting approval of this budget. The background from motion 3, subsequent to the 2014 Springtown meeting, bonds were issued in July of 2014 for the Vincent Owens School and the Winchester High School, increases of $29,735 and $14,296.25 respectively. These bonds account for the increase to be funded through taxation as a debt exclusion on the fiscal year 2015 recap. And finally, motion 4 background, the Winchester High School feasibility study ban interest previously was funded by the Building Stabilization Fund. This motion is requesting a reclassification of the funding source. Since the override for the high school project passed, this debt is now considered exempt from Proposition 2.5, and this reclassification will fund the interest payment through taxation as a debt exclusion.
Thank you, Mr. Melkonian. May we have recommendation on the four motions from the Board of Selectmen? Ms. Wilson.
The board recommends favorable action. The aggregate impact on the town budget is just about $6,000 in free cash usage. There's a small impact to the tax base, and there's a modest increase in available funds in the Building Stabilization Fund as a result.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Further on the questions as presented, the motions come before the town meeting as previously stated. They require a majority vote under motion number 1. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Under motion number 2, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Under motion number 3, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. Under motion number 4, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. This brings us to Article 20 of the town meeting, and under Article 20 is moved and seconded by the Finance Committee that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $16,500 to account number 9430, the Reserve Fund. On behalf of the proponents, the Finance Committee, Mr. Melkonian.
Thank you. This motion is to replenish $16,500 to the Reserve Fund that's overseen by the Finance Committee. The fund typically begins the fiscal year with $400,000 in it, this year included. And we typically don't see requests on the Reserve Fund until after January or February, with the bulk of the requests coming in at the end of the fiscal year in May and June, as various departments determine whether their budgets are running lean. In most cases, the requests are coming in after Springtown meeting, and the Reserve Fund is the only convenient method established to keep the budget on track through the end of the fiscal year. Last year, we had requests totaling over $398,000, leaving just over $1,000 in the Reserve Fund. In a severe winter, if the snow and ice budget is running close to being overspent, the Reserve Fund is an expeditious way to keep up with the emergency expenses. We've also seen large appropriations made for unexpected workers' compensation claims. Last year, from March to June, we had to make appropriations of $140,000 for workers' compensation out of the fund. In August of this year, we were asked to appropriate $30,000 from the fund as part of the environmental study at Skillings Field, which the town is required to perform by the end of November, and I believe is close to being completed. We voted on, as the Finance Committee, to fund $16,500, and the FPBC funded the remainder of the money from the high school project. The Finance Committee would like to replenish the $16,500 into the Reserve Fund at this town meeting so that we can go into the third and fourth quarters of fiscal year 2015 with a full Reserve Fund, expecting the bulk of our requests coming during that time.
Thank you, Mr. Melkonian. And we have a recommendation from the Board of Selectmen. Ms. Wilson.
The Board of Selectmen unanimously supports this article. Mr. Moderator, we note in the motion, I think that typically we would state the source of funds in the motion, and we understand this to be from free cash, which we support. I don't know if you would require there to be a source of funds to be stated in the motion.
Well, since you're calling me out on it, I think I ought to. It's moved and seconded that the motion under Article 20 be amended. It's moved and seconded that the motion be amended to read, moved and seconded that the town vote to appropriate the sum of $16,500 from free cash to account number 9430 Reserve Fund. On the motion to amend alone, in favor of the motion to amend, all in favor? Any opposed? The motion has now been amended. Now on the motion to amend, on the amended motion as stated, further on the question. Hearing none, the motion comes before the town meeting as amended. All those in favor? I'm sorry. Mr. Wilson.
What's the urgency of this now?
That's an appropriate question. Mr. Wilson asked what the urgency is in topping that off. I asked that question myself. Mr. Melkonian had a pretty good answer. Mr. Melkonian.
Well, last year we were spent down to a little over $1,000. So if this request were made last year, some of the workers' compensation requests that had come in at the end of last year, we wouldn't have been able to fund all of those. So we want to go into the fiscal year. Typically, you don't get a request in August. You get them maybe in December, but most definitely during the third and fourth quarters of the fiscal year, running from January to June. So the urgency is just to go into it with a full Reserve Fund going into the fiscal year with it. And by August, the fiscal year begins in July. By August, we already had 16,500 taken out.
Semper Paratus. On the motion as amended, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. This brings us to Article number 21, proposed by the town clerk herself. This is a motion under Article 21 brought by the town manager and the town clerk. The motion is moved and seconded that the sum of $15,000 be appropriated from free cash to account number 1210, Town Manager's Department, other expenses, to fund the cost of a revision and recodification project. Said appropriation to be expended under the direction of the town manager. Ms. Lannon, are you? Mr. Howard. Mr. Howard.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This is one of those proactive efforts that all town departments have been asked to identify and come up with, not only under the bylaws and town charter, does the clerk and a committee. In this instance, we're identifying the Committee on Government Regulations. Town meeting an update on all of the major documents that we have under existence. But in looking at some of the complexity that has resulted from amendments to subdivision bylaws, zoning bylaws, and the like, we think it's appropriate to seek an appropriate vendor to assist the town in the effort to get our major documents updated, report back to the town meeting with any appropriate recodifications or amendments, and do that work over the course of the next year so that sometime within the middle or the end of fiscal year 2016, we can come back to town meeting with a report appropriately.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. May we have a recommendation from the Finance Committee? Mr. Melkonian.
The Finance Committee recommended favorable action on this article, and we recognize the need for the revision and recodification and the requirement, and we realize that $15,000 is not an amount that could be easily absorbed into the town manager's budget.
Thank you. From the Board of Selectmen, recommendation, Ms. Wilson.
The Selectmen recommend favorable action.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Further on the question, Mr. Conti, did I see your hand there? Mr. Conti asks that we hear from the Town Council. The Town Council, Mr. Welch. Mr. Welch.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator, fellow town meeting members. The Government Regulations Committee within the next year will be doing their biennial 10-year review of the bylaws. And in the last 10 years, we've had a number of interesting issues relating to the bylaws. Most recently, I was asked to opine on whether or not a camel was a barnyard animal within the meaning of the bylaws. And if so, it would have been covered under the insurance policy that was proffered. And if not, it would not have. So that's one. I think the answer was the camel was covered, subject to, of course, approval by the Board of Health of certain other requirements. But over the last decade, I think the town meeting has talked about obstructions on public sidewalks. It's talked about solicitor bylaws. I mean, there's been clearing snow from private areas. And I must say that these debates have been very interesting. We had a wonderful one on the tree bylaw last year. But what I think needs to be done is these bylaws need to be brought up to date and to the state of the art. And I would say that probably the cost of that is close to $15,000. But I do note that in the last 3 years, thanks to the Planning Board, we've had a total recodification of the zoning bylaw. The Planning Board has recently completed the total redraft of the subdivision control laws. And the charter is sort of like a beast sui generis, because you can't change the charter without a vote of the electorate. So I think according to my consultant, who I've used many times, Mark Bobrowski, who helped us with the recodification. He thinks the amount of $15,000 is a reasonable amount to help Mr. Conti and his committee, to do the bylaws, not necessarily by him, because I think the Committee on Government Regulations will want to be very much involved since it's going to be their product. But I'm in favor of the concept here because I do think that certainly our code of bylaws need a lot of work.
Thank you very much, Mr. Welch. Glad we're over that hump. Come on. You get a little bit of fun up here. It gets tiring up here. Further on the question. Motion comes before the town meeting as previously stated, a majority vote being required. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion passes. This brings us to Article 22, brought by the Personnel Board. And under Article 22, there are a number of motions as stated in a separate handout you should have, which is conveniently titled Article 22. We'll entertain debate on all of the motions as stated. The motions are, number one, moved and seconded that Schedule 1 of the compensation plan be amended, revised, and modified in accordance with the recommendation of the Personnel Board as set forth in Appendix A, fiscal year 2014, fiscal year 2015, and fiscal year 2016, clerical employees' union compensation schedules, and pursuant to the Memorandum of Understanding reached between the Board of Selectmen and the Winchester Clerical Employees Union dated October 1, 2014. Under motion number 2, it's moved and seconded the town transfer the sum of $14,193 from the fiscal year 2014 unallocated personal services account number 0312481 to various municipal personal services budgets as listed below to fund the increases in wages for clerical employees for fiscal year 2014, and the account sources, the amounts, and the identification of the accounts totaling $14,193 are as stated in page 2 of the Article 22 handout. Motion number 3, moved and seconded that the town transfer the sum of $33,884 from the fiscal year 2015 unallocated personal services account number 0312491 to various municipal personal service budgets as listed below to fund the increases in wages and stipends for clerical employees for fiscal year 2015. And finally, motion number 4, it's moved and seconded that Schedules 2, CS Clerical, 3, Professional Technical, 4, Management, 5, Miscellaneous, and 6, Recreation of the Town of Winchester's compensation plan be amended to reflect wage adjustments for the non-union employees for the town as recommended by the town manager and the Personnel Board as set forth in Appendix B, Municipal Non-Union Personal Wage Adjustments, fiscal year 2015. These motions relate to a settlement with the Clerical Employees Union and a corresponding adjustment to certain non-union wages. The proponent of this article is the Personnel Board. On behalf of the Personnel Board, Peter Scheimetz. Mr. Scheimetz.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Peter Scheimetz. I'm here on behalf of the Personnel Board. There are 5 motions actually covering the 2 personnel actions that we took since the spring town meeting. The first 3 cover the clerical employees unions covering the fiscal year 14, covering fiscal year 15, and also adjusting the schedule under which they're paid. And the last 2 are, again, the schedule change and appropriating the money. But let me go over the actual costs. Personnel Board recommended favorable action on the Memorandum of Understanding with the Clerical Employees Union. To go over what is entailed in that agreement. There was an annual wage adjustment. I'll get to that in a second. There was no change in longevity pay. There was a change in the way that vacation time is handled before employees could carry over a year at their desire. Now, the town has the choice of either buying that year at the salary rate that they earned the year, carry over a week at, I was about to become a clerical worker, carry over a week at the salary at which they were paid it, or they could be paid out, they could carry over a week, or they could be paid out at the rate they earned it at the town's choice. And then there was an increase in what's called the technology stipend through FY14. It's been $150 per employee per year. That goes up to a 0.5% in this fiscal year and up to 1% in the next fiscal year. And the average goes from the 150 in previous years to just under $250 this year and just under $500 next year. There are 19 members of this union. This is the sum of the cost that is incurred by the town by the increases in the annual wage adjustment. So there's roughly $14,000, which is paid retroactively in 14. Then you've got another $13,000 increase in this year, and the last year finishes off with an annual wage adjustment of 3%, so there's another $27,000 in that year. When you add up that plus the compounding of the previous increases, you get a total cost to the town of $96,000, $97,000. And over the life of the contract, that's a 6.1% roughly increase. Personnel Board recommends favorable action on a single-year annual wage adjustment for the non-union personnel in town. Could somebody tell me what CS stands for? Because I got this so late I couldn't ask. Clerical salaries, non-union clerical salaries? Okay, sorry. I was handed this just before the meeting and didn't have time to ask questions. This is a breakout of the function or the department or the department of the people who are non-union but affected by the annual wage increase that we're going to be voting on tonight. It's roughly 188 people. I would say many of them are in the library or in management. So the increase is at 2% across the board for all non-union employees. Total cost for the year is $121,000 and change. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Steinmetz. Let's get a recommendation from the Finance Committee. Mr. Melconi.
The Finance Committee voted for favorable action on all 5 motions. We do want to point out, however, that, as we do for any of the wage increases, that any growth above 2.5% creates problems of sustainability within the budget.
Further on the question, Mr. Wilson.
Number one, it's past my bedtime. I don't like to talk about personnel contracts past my bedtime, but if that's what we're going to do. These are steps, right? Am I understanding this? What is the amount of the steps in the contract? What is the impact of the steps? So, for instance, on a 3%, how much more are we talking?
Mr. Howard, the town manager.
Yeah, there are no proposed step increases. The contract has a step system that's built into it now. So the cost of living obviously multiplies each of those steps, but the cost is borne in the cost of living increase if an employee moves a step as a result of longevity inside the contract step system. That's a separate cost that is borne outside of the negotiations, but there are no new steps that are introduced into the contract. This is merely a cost of living across the board increase to the existing cost in the contract.
But further, go ahead, Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, the steps are incorporated into the contract. They just weren't subject to negotiation because nobody chose to negotiate them. We pay for them, and the employees receive them.
Yeah, again,
So
and they're part of the contract.
The question is, the existing contract has certain steps within it.
Yes.
And the steps, as you cause to go from one step to another. There's a certain delta increase that results. There are 19 employees in this union, as I understand it. I would also note and ask the town manager to correct the chair that unlike school contracts where the step frequency change, where the step change is relatively frequent, I don't believe that there are too many steps involved in this particular contract, but if you could address that, Mr. Howard.
Correct. There are, I think, 4 steps within the system of the clerical contract. They did introduce a request for 3 additional steps, which we rejected and negotiated around. Approximately, I'd say either 15 or 16 of the current members of the unit are at the top step now. So again, the cost of living proposal that you saw negotiated is applied to what those steps are. The resulting cost and impact of it is the amounts that were identified here. There's no activity beyond that that's been identified and shown you, and the cost of it has been estimated and comes out of the unallocated wage line item that's been set aside.
Mr. Wilson, for your third and final follow-up.
The other question is about the 1.5 retroactive and then the 3% in the year that we haven't budgeted yet. Are we expecting a surge in productivity that would justify that 3%?
Generally, we expect good productivity from all of the employees every day of the week. The differentiation in the amounts of money is not a reflection on how well they worked in fiscal year 2014 and how well we expect them to work in 2015 and how great they'll be in 2016. It's more a function of what management's targets were in negotiating all of the labor negotiations, several of which have been brought back in different town meetings. So generally, our targets were to stay under the very figure that Mr. Melkonian had identified to you, to the body, as kind of an unsustainable amount, which was about 7.5%. We're fairly below that. But this particular unit has accepted the 1.5%, 3% split on what has been a fairly consistent attempt to have all base wage increases within the school department, within all public safety units, within DPW, and within this clerical unit be around 6%. So we think we're there at 1.5, 3, regardless of how it gets divided over the 3 fiscal years. So it's not an expectation that they're going to be any better at the beginning of July in 2015 than they are today. We think they're good today. We think they'll be good tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Further on the question. Yes, Mr. Freisel, or Mr. Marmon.
I saw on the slide that there was a technology stipend that went as high as $500. Could I hear what that is reimbursing them for?
Yes, of course, Mr. Howard.
Be glad to. As you can imagine, there are a series of targets that are identified by both sides, but especially on the labor side as financial targets within the realm of benefits that exist within the collective bargaining agreement that's in existence. Longevity, additional vacation, sick leave, any number of opportunities for them to identify targets for remuneration. This was one of them. And management tends to agree that as we ask employees to take on either new skills or to stay updated with current operating systems that we have them utilize throughout the course of the year, that this was an appropriate incentive to put some remuneration into. And over the course of the last year, we have asked them to get upgraded on various Munis activities, website activities, other technology activities. So in looking at the entire package, instead of entertaining new amounts for longevity, or new amounts for sick leave, or new amounts for vacation. We thought this was within the realm of that 7% activity. We thought this was the appropriate one to add value to.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Further on the question? Let's consider the motions as stated. We'll consider the union adjustments first, which are motions number 1 through 3. And then when we conclude the votes on those motions, I'll read motion 5, which I unintentionally omitted in the, at the beginning of the presentation. So these are majority votes. The motion comes under motion number 1, as previously stated. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion number 2, as previously stated. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Motion number 3, as previously stated. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? This brings us to the adjustment to the municipal non-union compensation schedules 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Motion number 4, which has previously been stated, and motion number 5, which reads as follows. It's moved and seconded that the town transfer the sum of $121,419 from the fiscal year 2015 unallocated personal services account number 0312491 to various municipal personal service budgets as listed below to fund increases in wages for non-union employees for fiscal year 2015. The accounts as identified, named, and totaled $121,419, and they are as stated with particularity on page 4 of the handout before us. Matter now comes before the town meeting on motion number 4. A majority vote required. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Now on motion number 5, majority vote required. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion number 5 passes. This brings us to Article 23, which is a motion brought by the Planning Board. As we move into this article, which will be the final substantive article of the meeting, I thank the meeting for its indulgence. We're getting close to 10:30, which is usually a reasonable hour to conclude, but having made such nice progress along the way, it would seem almost foolish, despite Mr. Wilson's bedtime, to adjourn right now, since I think we'll be able to conclude the meeting and having had a full and fair discussion of the matters before us. So, to Article 23, brought by the Planning Board, it is moved and seconded that the town amend the zoning bylaw of the town of Winchester, Massachusetts by deleting Section 9.4.3 and replacing it in its entirety with the following. Special permit applications shall be governed by the rules and regulations of the Special Permit Granting Authority. Whenever an application for a special permit is filed with the Special Permit Granting Authority, the applicant shall file 18 paper copies and an electronic copy of the submission at the Building Department within 5 working days of the filing of the completed application with said authority. Copies of the application, accompanying site plan, and other documentation shall be forwarded by the Board of Appeals clerk to the Planning Board, Board of Health, Town Engineer, Conservation Commission, Building Commissioner, Director of Public Works, Police Chief, Fire Chief, the Design Review Committee, and Historical Commission for their consideration, review, and report. On behalf of the Planning Board, its chair.
Actually, I have an introduction to make because our new planner is going to be presenting.
Oh, great.
So, an opportunity to introduce him. Mr. Kelly? Right there. There you go.
Great. Wasn't much of an introduction. We didn't quite get his name. Brian, if you could give us your name just for the sake of the worldwide television audience, we'd appreciate that.
Sure. My name is Brian Zakelli. I'm the new town planner as of about 3.5 months ago. I've met some of you. I hope to meet a lot more of you in the next couple months as the Planning Board rolls out our central business district rezoning for the Springtown meeting. I know it's late. I only got one slide. Yeah. So the aims of this change. So we're really just trying to reflect the current special permit submission process that's not accounted for in the current zoning code. We're calling out 18 paper copies, and the Design Review Committee, we've been accepting 18 paper copies and submitting a portion of them to the Design Review Committee for many years now, and we're just putting that into the code. The other change that we're making is that we want to help digitize the plans for project tracking and waste reduction. And we're going to do this through an electronic submission process. So when you submit your paper copies, you also submit an electronic copy. The main questions that have been raised was that why do we need 18 paper copies to begin with? Many various boards and committees review these special permit requests, and actually at the table, large format paper copies are still the standard for the review across the Commonwealth as well as across the country. The saving of paper really occurs during the revised plan submission. So many large and smaller projects, they require revised sets of plans. And currently we're having 18 sets of these revised plans, which really doesn't make that much sense. So what we're trying to do is have these, for the resubmittals, for them to be electronic. The reason why is not all boards and committees need these paper copies for the revised plans. For example, an exterior design change really wouldn't affect the Conservation Commission's review of the project, and therefore an electronic file would suffice. That is all.
Thank you very much, Brian. Welcome to Winchester. Further on the question, this being an amendment of a zoning article, it requires a 2/3 vote of the meeting. The chair will entertain a voice vote to commence with. On the motion under Article 23, as previously read and stated, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The chair declares the vote unanimous and the motion passes. This brings us to the final two motions of the town meeting. Before I read those and we adjourn the meeting, I have 2 points for you. Last night in this auditorium, the Winchester Coalition for a Safer Community met and spoke about the public health epidemic of opioid overdoses and heroin addiction, which is affecting not only our region, but has also touched our community. As part of that discussion, we talked about the various health risks by which the children in our community are challenged. We heard from members of the police department, from the hospital emergency room, and a number of other providers who are doing heroic and important work in the community. But these are issues which deserve all of our attention, not just those of us with children, adolescents affected by these issues, but all of us in the community. The type of strength that we've demonstrated as a community as tragedy affects each of us is the same type of strength we need to continue to demonstrate to solve these type of problems. We'll only solve them together. The next public session at which these things will be discussed is one which is addressed primarily in the first instance to parents of school children, and that will be an assessment of the Youth Risk Behavior Survey recently completed at this school, the middle school, and the high school. That program will take place at the Lincoln School across the street on November 19th. Dan Perenek, sergeant at the police department, is doing some great work in this regard. I would encourage you to reach out to Dot Butler, who chairs the Coalition for Safer Communities, or Sergeant Perenek, and to, if you can, get an opportunity to look at the program that was taped and will be shown again on WinCam. It's a very important issue for our community and the children in our community. Secondly, because you will not be at this meeting next Monday night, you will have a little bit extra time next week. I would encourage you to think about using your time this way. On Tuesday, November 11th, the town will celebrate Veterans Day. Greg Quill from the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post and Barbara O'Connell chair those exercises. They start at the high school and step off at about 10 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. Nice little loop of the town, a public address at our memorial in front of Town Hall. It's worth maybe, if you can find the few hours in the morning, to come and demonstrate our respect and appreciation for those who have served our country and our community and continue to serve them. If you can make Veterans Day, or those in the household can do, please think about making an effort. It's the least we can do to show our appreciation for the people who continue to stand for our protection on posts both domestic and foreign this evening. That brings us to the end of the town meeting. Under Article 24, whether the town will vote to accept committee reports, dissolve all committees, authorize new committees, or take any other action thereto. There being no need for action there are no motions before the committee. And finally, one final vote required of the meeting to see if the town will vote to take appropriate action to comply with the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 21C, a law known as the 2.5 tax limitation, or take any other action in relation thereto. No
action being necessary, no motions being brought. That concludes the town meeting. The chair will entertain a vote to dissolve the fall town meeting. Second, all those in favor? Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks for your patience this evening. Thank you, Mary Ellen. Thanks for...
Good evening, everybody. Alan Iden again here at WinCam's coverage, live coverage of the Winchester Fall Town Meeting. And if you've just tuned in, the town meeting has completed all of its business for this particular session for the Fall Town Meeting and has adjourned in one session. So let's recap what happened tonight. As is traditional with spring and fall town meetings, it opened with reports from the major committees. We heard a report first from Jennifer Wilson from the Board of Selectmen, who thanked the town employees and volunteers. Opened by thanking the town volunteers and employees. She talked about the Right Lock Farm. There's a request for proposals for 12.5 acres. And we have people walking right by here, don't we? Okay. I'm going to move down. The RFP for recouping the town's $12 million investment on the 12.5 acres while preserving the farm and minimizing the impact on the town. Those RFPs are due on January 6th. Flood mitigation is reducing the cost of flooding, will reduce the cost of flood insurance for town residents, and talked about $2.5 million that's been received from the state. Skilling's field improvements and parking, field improvements, and an $8 million culvert is planned. Town center planning, rezoning, and changes to the rail station, the town's new website, and many other projects that the Board of Selectmen are working on. Chris Nixon from the school committee was next, talked about the busy 6 months. 269 graduates from the class of 2014 and 318 entering kindergarten for the class of 2027. It was a 1.5% increase in the school enrollment. The WHS, Winchester High School project, is well underway. There's a 3-year technology plan to improve Wi-Fi connections that'll be for the years 2013 through 2016. The superintendent search is underway. Semi-finalists for that job are due to be introduced to the town in December. And talked about the strengths, the academic, arts, and athletic strengths of the school system. Mr. Marconian from the Finance Committee was next, talking about a 3.57 revenue growth in this fiscal year. Said the average tax bill for the town would be $10,095, and there was a 4.5% increase in home values. He said the effect of the Winchester High School reconstruction will begin to be felt by homeowners in fiscal year 17 with a $530 average increase, $823 in fiscal year 18. Unknowns in the upcoming years include benefits and capital projects. Betsy Kreger from the Planning Board just touched on the downtown revitalization project. They're looking forward to a revitalized downtown. They are bringing a draft release of proposed new zoning laws for the downtown, zoning regulations for the downtown in the next 7 to 10 days, and we'll begin 3 months of community meetings to have this article ready for this proposed zoning ready for the spring town meeting. And finally, Richard Howard, the town manager, said the last fiscal year closed with a $2.2 million surplus. The town has maintained its AAA bond rating for the lowest possible rate on bonds, and there were no surprises yet in the fiscal year 15. So town meeting recessed after that and then began moving through many articles. Actually, almost all of them passed. We heard First was Article 3, Commission on Disabilities, renaming that to the Winchester Disability Access Committee. The Capital Planning Committee gave a report in Article 4, which was accepted, and then they moved on to numerous articles for appropriations, all of which passed, including some movement of funds in Article 5, $45,000 in Article 6 for a school, updating the school's 2007 master plan, $442,000 in Article 7 for repairs to the public safety building, $256,000 in drainage improvements in such areas as Manchester Road and Johnson Road. Actually, those were surpluses in the Manchester and Johnson Road areas, so they were unspent bond funds that were going to be used for drainage, various drainage improvements. $121,000 was appropriated from the cemetery trust funds to construct a new columbarium niches, 72 double niches, which would hold 144 remains. That was Article 9. Article 10, $1.3 million to repair the low-level outlet and gatehouse at the South Reservoir that was built in 1870. $500,000 in Article 11 to reconstruct the Mount Vernon Street Bridge and add an extra culvert, a fourth culvert for flood mitigation and for better flow through that, under that bridge. The state will state will also kick in about $2.5 million on that project. Article 12, $500,000 for water main lining and improvements on the North Border and Ware Road areas. Was also approved. Article 13, $276,000 in sewer improvements in the Stoll and Marshall Road area. Article 14, $395,000 for sewer evaluations in most of the center area of the town. And Article 15 was to move some funds around and balance the water and sewer enterprise funds. Article 16 was $60,000 from the parking meter fund to operate the Wedgemere Station lot. And anticipated revenues would more than cover that at about $90,000. Article 17 was indefinitely postponed. Article 18 was the town's proposal to spend up to $250,000 to repair the collapsed wall on Fernway off Cambridge Street, which will be recouped through a betterment from the neighbors in 21 properties that are affected by that. Article 19 was various motions for salary settlements or reclassifications, combined amount of about $6,000. Article 20 was $16,000, appropriate $16,000 from free cash to the reserve fund. Article 21 was $15,000, appropriate $15,000 from free cash to the town clerks to review the town's documents. Article 22 was various items from the Personnel Board, adjustments and salary adjustments for union and non-union personnel. That was passed. And the final article of the night, other than the housekeeping articles, was the Planning Board's request to change the Zoning Board of Appeals special permit applications and digitize some of the plans and streamline some of the submission processes. So that was a rapid and very complete wrap up to the Winchester's Fall Town Meeting. We're a little bit late here. We thank you for joining us. We had a few technical differences here. Obviously, we're going to be operating out of this auditorium for Springtown meeting, as well as the high school auditoriums being rebuilt. So we beg your indulgence for any of our little technical glitches, and we'll be working on them. But we thank you for joining us and staying up to this late hour. For all of us here on the WinCamp crew here in the auditorium, thank you for joining us. I'm Alan Iden. Have a great night.